Dunque dicevo, facciamo un attimo un ripassino. Continua il processo. Yes. Sergentone, staff. Per oggi. Allora, obiezioni. Noi abbiamo sentito argumentative, bla 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 bla. Ask and answered, questa l'hanno fatta spesso. Vabbè, è ovvio, quando si rifà una domanda per cui c'è già stata anche una risposta. Poi, cosa abbiamo? Call for a conclusion, quando la domanda chiede un'opinione invece di un fatto. Calls for speculation, questo l'abbiamo sentito. E quando la domanda chiede al testimone di indovinare la risposta invece che basarsi sui fatti. Quindi tutte le volte che sentiamo dire calls for speculation vuol dire che appunto è una roba del genere. Lo so che partono, ma tanto oggi sono tutte menate, quindi facciamo questo ripassino. Compound quando sono più domande insieme. Quando dicono solo objection, foundation, punto esclamativo merch, DILP. Foundation è quando la domanda fa riferimento a robe che fa riferimento a cose per cui la conoscenza del testimone non è stata precedentemente validata. Per cui chiedono cose a una persona che non è detto che le sappia, bisognerebbe stabilire prima che hanno diritto e competenza nel rispondere all'altra domanda. Hearsay la sappiamo, e quando è un sentito dire. Leading, haha, in direct examination, leading è quando la domanda suggerisce la risposta, ovviamente. Lack of foundation, che è diversa da foundation, è quando il testimone non ha l'autorità per rispondere alla domanda, e basta, perfetto, quindi questo lo sappiamo. Apriamo la nostra pagina di YouTubes. Giorno 18. Ed eccoci qua. Quindi, gran bel lavoro. Ti sei divertito ieri? Ci siamo scassati. Objection. Sentite che vuoi un ticchettino. Stappo l'audio perché veramente è insopportabile. Allora, oggi. Vi dico. A parte che mi piace un sacco il vestito, ma vi faccio il riassunto di quello che è successo ieri per quanto riguarda i due testimoni finali. Perché abbiamo detto che non ce li guardavamo, che erano una rottura di palle immensa. Quindi ho fatto ricerche e vi posso dire tutto quello che c'è da sapere sul tizio AOA che ha parlato e su Rocky Bennington. Allora, il tizio non ho capito, credo sia trans, quindi credo che fosse una donna che ha scelto poi di essere uomo. E chiaramente mi sono guardato tutti i cazzi suoi, sono andato a vedere anche il sito. Io Tillet Wright è una donna che ha deciso di diventare uomo, e voglio farvi vedere anche il suo sito internet che si chiama Io Loves You. E questa persona non è per niente egocentrica, assolutamente, direi che è perfettamente a posto, ed è esattamente il motivo per cui ha deciso di pubblicare una sua biografia. Chi se ne... attenzione, autografata. Biografia autografata. Quindi, ok? E vi racconto due storie in più. Vi racconto due storie in più. Praticamente, questa persona è un'amica di Amber. Johnny l'aveva accolto perché era amica della moglie, gli ha dato una casa e tutto quanto. Ma poi cosa è successo? Giustamente, ha detto, beh, cazzo, conosco Johnny Depp, forse riesco a portare dell'acqua al mio mulino. E quindi ha cercato di coinvolgere la figlia di Johnny Depp, Lily Rose Depp, in iniziative LGBTQ+AZKRK, ok? Quindi Quel tizio lì ha cercato di coinvolgere la figlia di Johnny come boost per una cosa che stava facendo lui. Johnny si è incazzato come una iena cilena perché, come pubblicamente sapete, vuole lasciare i suoi figli fuori dall'occhio pubblico, perché se perseguiranno una carriera come intrattenitori eccetera sarà una loro scelta, quindi lui lavora sempre per cercare di tenere i figli fuori dalle palle. E devo dirvi che effettivamente, se ci pensate, tolto i casini che ha tirato fuori Amber, ma non è che si sa tutta sta roba di Johnny Depp, cioè nel senso è abbastanza privata come persona e dei figli, cioè non è tipo i figli di Will Smith, non ne sai mai un cazzo dei suoi figli. Quindi Johnny Depp aveva interrotto completamente i rapporti con quel tizio AO perché aveva cercato di utilizzare l'immagine della figlia e l'immagine sua per i suoi scopi. Quindi è una testimonianza assolutamente inutile. Inutile. Capite? Per quanto riguarda invece la ex miglior amica di Amber, non ho capito a che punto volesse arrivare se non flexare il fatto che... Cioè se non forzare sul fatto che Johnny abusa di droghe, ma chi se ne frega, nel senso è comunque non un problema. E diceva Johnny per me è come un fratello. Beh allora ragazzi, avete presente Spider-Man? Flash Thompson? Ecco, lui è Flash Thompson. È il no, non c'è Camille, è qua a destra. È il miglior amico di Spider-Man. Praticamente. Sicuramente Johnny aveva un debole per lui. Ok, hanno preso.
With her testimony, okay?
Ma è il mio audio.
Shortly after she returned.
No, non è il mio audio.
Yes.
Non è il mio audio, vero? Fatemi controllare. No, tutti quanti dicono... Vi faccio leggere. Audio, fix the audio. Quindi penso che sia l'audio. Ho una sensazione che siano loro.
What injuries did you observe?
Oh, ci guardiamo i sottotitoli, che vi devo dire? Tanto metto la musica. Datemi un feedback quando risolve. Vado solo a mettere a cambiare l'impostazione della stampante perché sto provando settaggi nuovi. La stampante oggi va veloce in culo. Tre ore contro 8 ore, veramente una bestialata. Arrivo, eh? Boom, baby. Quando inizia? È iniziato, ma l'audio è così. Se vuoi morire ti metto l'audio così, se no aspettiamo un attimo. C'è la diretta su CBS?
Yes.
Quella funziona?
You were not in Australia with Ms. Heard when she allegedly sustained these injuries. Is that correct, Ms. Huntington? I was not in Australia.
Mi date un link, grazie.
So you're only understanding...
Perché così è assolutamente inascoltabile. Ok, questa funziona.
And this dinner was held in Penthouse 5 at the Eastern Columbia Building, right?
Sì, ma dobbiamo... Qua non vediamo le prove, però. Grazie, Dilp.
Yes. And just for clarification, Penthouse 5 was not Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's primary residence, correct?
Raga, cioè, spostate l'inquadratura su quella col vestito arancione. Non vogliamo vedere questa qua, mi fa incazzare. Oh, meglio, fermi così. Fermi così.
Technically they lived in all of them. They were all connected.
Where did they have
Per me no, Crystal, per me no.
in which penthouse?
Their bedroom was in 3.
Alzo un pelo per voi.
Who attended this Thanksgiving dinner?
I think that,
Hanno fissato?
well, Josh,
Thank you.
myself, Amber, Johnny. There were I think
Thank
Amber's
you.
dad was there. Jack.
Infame
Johnny's
magnocca.
son. I
Siete
don't
troppo
remember anyone
facili,
else
ragazzi.
specifically.
Io vado
Do you
stasera a fare
recall
un re...
what time you all
Sicuramente,
sat down
Fabi.
to eat dinner?
No.
Okay, but you testified at some point late in the meal, Amber went upstairs to look for
Guarda,
Johnny and
sicuramente
stayed up
lo
there for a
era.
long time,
Adesso non mi
correct?
piace personalmente, la vedo
Yes.
troppo finta.
And did Mr. Depp sit down to dinner with all of you?
E tutti gli amici di Johnny sono come Johnny, Ana.
I don't know if we all actually sat down at one point.
Did you see Mr. Depp at some point leave the dinner?
Mr. Depp.
I don't remember him leaving. I remember noticing that he was gone.
Did you see where Mr. Depp left to, where he went?
Non sarà il miglior momento, ma guarda Camille in confronto, perdonami,
Either upstairs or out the front door. I didn't see it happen, so I don't know.
Ma lei ha avuto sicuramente chirurgia agli zigomi ed è matta perché era molto bella prima, secondo me. Ha sicuramente fatto dei ritocchi.
Yes.
Ha sicuramente fatto dei ritocchi in peggio per quanto riguarda il mio gusto personale. Per quanto conti l'aspetto esteriore. Grazie Gilbu dei 5.
No.
Did you observe any injuries to Miss Heard when she returned?
No.
Ma quindi la No, ma non
Did
ci
you
credo,
observe
ma
any injuries to
scusate.
Mr. Depp when he returned?
No.
Cioè, stiamo dicendo, scusate, ma questa è la testimone di Amber e ha appena detto che non ha mai visto problemi su Amber. What?
I don't remember Johnny changing clothes. I do remember that Amber changed clothes.
Do you remember anyone that was still there when Mr. Depp and Miss Heard came back
Sì,
downstairs?
sì, che non è di lei. No, è di lei, Umbre. Rocky Bennington, che è la migliore amica. Tutte le testimonianze di oggi sono di lei.
David Heard. And I don't remember anyone else specifically who was still there.
You also testified that when, quote, you went to look and found that a full bottle of wine had hit and broken a piece of art that Amber really loved above the bed, and that broken glass was scattered all over the bed.
Did I testify that?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that an accurate description of what you saw?
Ovviamente, Dani.
Yes.
And where did you see this? In what room?
In their bedroom of PH3.
Quello sicuramente, Serge. Ma adesso, secondo te, quanto sono aumentate le vendite di quel tipo di tazza? No, quella dei pizzini e l'altro nome che avete detto voi, lo sapevo, la chat lo sapeva. Quella dei pizzini era Eve Burrow, una roba del genere. Eve Burrow, Eve Borra, penso. Eve Borra, la chiameremo così. Barlow, vabbè, Eve Barlow, quello intendevo. Ai fini della nostra telecronaca sarà Eva Borra.
I think there was wine. Yeah, I think there was also spilled wine on the bed and on the ground.
Do you remember whether that bottle of wine was broken or not?
Grazie Lollo, è semplicemente l'altro microfono. Ambra a sentire mi ha quasi... Ma non così palese, Dani, cioè, cercavo di mantenere un certo contegno. Il processo in anteluce. Scusi, ma si può spostare che così la vediamo in faccia?
So you specifically remember glass being everywhere upstairs. Is that fair?
On the bed, mostly.
Tu stai vedendo tagliato, loro lo vedono in 16 noni, quindi lei è nell'inquadratura, noi vediamo tagliato.
It would have been red.
Was it a Magnum bottle?
I don't think so.
What picture had been damaged?
Ma quindi, lei è di lui o di lei? Perché Umbra mi ha messo dubbi.
Eleanor Finney, I believe.
Ah, è di lei, ok, allora vedi.
Apologies, Miss Pennington. What did it look like?
Aquaman!
I don't remember which one.
You saw the aftermath?
The aftermath, fair.
Penso che oggi ci cuccheremo tutte testimonianze inutili degli amici di lei.
I don't know.
Miss Heard could have thrown the bottle. True?
Could have.
Comunque chat, mi sa che le prossime maglie le farò in gran parte nere perché la stampa guardate come è venuta rispetto a quelle colori.
And was the evening still happening after you returned from observing the bedroom?
Super clean, molto di più. Quindi mi sa che le farò nere le prossime grafiche.
Do you recall any other issues happening?
Boia, ma vivono là dentro. E King, 9 to 5.
I don't recall any. No.
Do you remember providing deposition testimony about this Thanksgiving incident when you were deposed?
Ma se fa tutto così ci inventiamo qualcosa, Iria, perché veramente... Dalle 9 del mattino alle 5 di pomeriggio è il turno lavorativo all'americana. 9 to 5.
And recall.
Do you have any independent recollection of testifying during the divorce proceeding about Thanksgiving?
Sono la persona più trollabile del mondo.
Are you talking about the deposition or
Ma chi
testifying?
Il fatto è che comunque sceglie la giuria, per cui contano meno, ma bisogna vedere come.
I remember the depot, but it was a very long depot and a lot of topics were covered.
Sì, Tecno, con gli avvocati, ma sì.
So, do you remember during the depot testifying that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard returned to dinner? Mr. Depp was, quote, acting like nothing had happened. Do you remember that testimony?
I don't remember the specifics of the testimony.
Okay. So, can videographer...
Quello che non capisco è lei davanti a che avvocati è? Chi è al telefono?
2016 deposition transcript.
Però è un processo civile, non penale, King.
2016, it's volume 2.
Ma infatti secondo me il fatto di avere deposizione invece che i testimoni lì fisicamente è studiato.
Where am I looking in the document?
Yeah.
No, a me non sembra, Camille.
Please scroll down to page 238. Ms. Pennington, if you could look on page 238 of your deposition transcript from July 14, 2016, line 23. And if...
Fine dell'audio. Ok. Questa è Rocky Bennington, la migliore amica di Amber Heard, che però ha detto che per lei non è la migliore amica, ma è solo una conoscente.
I don't have like the scrolly things. I just...
Ma chi è che le parla? estremamente conveniente comunque, è estremamente conveniente il fatto che lei sia interrogata davanti ai suoi avvocati con la connessione in remoto a Camille. Incredibilmente conveniente. Per quanto riguarda una risposta, l'abbiamo letteralmente sentita.
What line am I reading?
No, è una registrazione, Dilp. Camille, calpestami. No, non l'ho mica vista, Ana. Hai uno screenshot o una clip? Ma chi è quello dietro? Ma che è sta? Ma che farsa è sta roba? Grazie, Ana. Impressionante comunque. Ma che vergogna. Ma no, ma è pazzesco.
Yeah, the night has faded in my memory, but
All
if I
good.
read this, yeah.
Is that an accurate description of what you observed, Mr. Depp,
Ok.
that evening?
Ma c'è uno spazietto sotto.
This description?
Yes. Was it your observation the evening of Thanksgiving that you couldn't tell whether Mr. Depp was drunk or angry, that he just put on a facade?
Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no.
I couldn't tell what he was feeling. I didn't know what was going on.
And you couldn't tell if he was drunk, correct?
I couldn't tell.
And you couldn't tell if he was angry that evening either?
Scusate.
Well, I can't say what anybody else's emotions are at any time.
You didn't perceive him being angry
Ok.
in front of you that evening.
At me, no.
At anyone?
Not that I recall.
So fair to say that Mr. Depp not seem angry to you when he came downstairs after for Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Tutto a posto per terra.
He didn't seem any
No, gli hanno dato...
to me.
Cosa, Master?
You
Grazie di
testified that in
bit.
December of 2015, Amber called you over
Non ho
to
capito la
her
domanda.
apartment so that you could check her out. Is that a correct statement? You testified to that?
Yes.
Okay, my question was, after you arrived, you observed injuries to Miss Heard, right?
Quindi dopo che sei arrivato hai visto delle ferite? Sì. Sì.
Do you remember seeing that her head was bloody where a chunk of hair had been ripped out of the back of her head?
Yeah. Yes.
Convinta, devo dire,
Was her
convinta.
head actively bleeding when you saw her?
It was,
Ma che farsa è?
it wasn't like dripping down her head, but it was raw and red.
Was it actively bleeding, do you remember?
Define actively bleeding.
Was there blood?
Yes.
How could you tell hair had been ripped out of her head?
Dipende quanto denaro è, King. Quanto denaro hai mai trasferito su PayPal.
There was a bloody patch with hair missing.
Where was her face red?
Her whole face.
Could the redness have been from
Tutta.
crying?
It could have been.
Where did her nose appear to be swollen?
No, vai tranquillo, King.
Maybe like the upper bridge.
Ma
Did you observe that Miss Heard had any black eyes?
Not that I recall.
Was there blood on her lips when you saw her?
It was cut open.
scusate, ma
Was there blood?
mi scusi signorina, ha visto per caso del sangue sulla testa di Amber? Sì, 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 ho visto, sì.
I don't remember.
Ma per caso Amber aveva il naso ferito? Aveva qualche gonfiore sul naso?
It's on the bottom.
Before we go there, have any independent records
Sì,
seen
sì, qui,
laceration on Miss Heard's
ponte del
forehead?
naso, sì, sì. Highlights di oggi è iniziato adesso.
There were many times that I saw injuries on her. If you would like to show me a photo or point me to another place where I can remember
La migliore
which
amica di Amber.
injury was in which instance, then I can answer the question.
So you testified that Miss Heard had a laceration on her forehead when you saw her.
Lacerazione
correct?
sulla fronte.
Yes.
If you remember, where on her forehead was this laceration?
Up by the hairline.
È sulla linea dei capelli.
Was it on the right or left side?
I don't remember.
Non mi ricordo.
Was the laceration bleeding?
Sanguinava?
I don't think so.
No, 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 no.
Sitting here today, did you observe any other injuries to Miss Heard that evening that you remember?
Ha visto altre ferite? Non lo so.
No.
No.
Back to Miss Pennington in the United Kingdom, that would be great.
È sparito l'audio. È andato via piano piano l'audio. Ma che fa?
So in paragraph 20, Miss Pennington,
Ma si è abbassato l'audio di colpo.
Miss Heard, you quote, called for assistance from a private nurse who was part of the concierge medical service which Johnny and Amber used. Is that correct?
Yes.
Nel frattempo commentiamo sul fatto che se uno ti chiede, cioè adesso seria, a parte i meme, ma se uno ti chiede, parlando di una tua persona amica, se hai visto delle ferite, ma io non penso che uno ci debba pensare più di tanto. Sbaglio ragazzi, cioè, ma secondo voi, ma può essere mai che uno ti dice, scusa, ma tu hai visto il tuo amico, vabbè, ma il tuo conoscente, chiunque, ti dicono, se vi dicono il postino, ma hai mai visto il postino con un occhio nero? No, cioè, se l'avessi visto me ne sarei accorto. Me lo ricorderei, instant, cioè proprio boom. Cioè, le ferite sono una cosa che uno si brucia in testa. Ti dicono, ma per caso quando sei arrivata lì, Amber sanguinava profusamente dalla nuca?
I think she said
No, oppure sì, cazzo, sì, ha voglia, è una cosa orribile. Cioè, ho capito che è roba di 10 anni fa, ragazzi, ma sono cose che uno o si ricorda o non si ricorda. Sei quello che ha scritto su Discord, pazzo? Però la scritta è nera, cioè più contrasto del nero, più nera di così non posso fare. Si vede poco comunque.
You testified in paragraph
Mandami qualche foto in privato se vuoi, così la guardo meglio.
you took pictures of Miss Heard's injuries.
Ha la guancia rossa perché le abbiamo fatto il tozzabanco. No, ma scusate, è assurdo il fatto che uno non si ricordi.
Photograph.
I don't know if it was on my phone or her phone.
You see the third line down, you say with my phone.
Oh, then it was my phone.
Did you alter the photographs in any way?
Ma infatti, grazie Cami, grazie dei 2 mesi, grazie Master dei 15. No, ma manco avesse l'Alzheimer, ragazzi, ma è semplice. Cioè, io mi ricordo di ferite che si è fatto mio papà quando ero piccolo. Cioè, mi ricordo delle robe che facendo nei garage si era fatto male, capite?
Amber's case with
Assolutamente, Tecno. Master, grazie mille. Assolutamente, ma non solo quello. Tu ti fai male perché sei sbadato, Tecno.
KCMQ probabilmente stava facendo una mappa concettuale delle deformazioni
Assolutamente, Master. No, cioè, Tecno, tu ti fai male spesso. Se chiedono a un tuo collega, hai mai visto Tecno ferito? Probabilmente gli dicono, ma capitava spesso. Ma la risposta immediata è sì, spesso. Magari ti dicono, ma quel giorno lì era ferito, e la risposta è, onestamente non me li ricordo, ma capitava spesso di vederlo con qualche bozzo. Sbaglio, ragazzi.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
What is this photograph depicting?
Ma anche che una conoscente, ragazzi.
The part of her scalp where the hair was ripped out.
Cioè, ma anche se è una conoscente, può pure essere un mio vicino. Se io vedo una persona che ha qualche tipo di ferita, l'occhio, penso che sia un istinto naturale. Penso che sia un istinto naturale sgamarlo immediatamente.
Do you remember testifying to that?
Cioè, nel senso, adesso non, cioè, nel senso, veramente, pensiamo il Corriere lo vediamo spesso ormai nella vita di tutti i giorni. Io penso che nessuno di voi faccia caso che cazzo sta facendo il Corriere, cioè se ti chiedono stava fumando o no, probabilmente non sai rispondere. Ma se il Corriere c'ha un cerotto sull'occhio, cazzo lo vedi subito.
Used that penthouse as a closet?
No.
Which penthouse did Miss Heard use as a closet?
Vabbè, hai capito, su.
Five.
How did you know that the hair clearly?
Ma Bertuccia, ma per forza.
Hair
Ma Iria, ma
ripped
so
out.
cazzate. Comunque belli i miei giornalini, tutti belli organizzati, che poi dentro ci scrivo 10 pagine e dico, ah, basta.
Apartment.
But you didn't see the hair get ripped out of her head, right?
Correct.
And so you're understanding that this was Miss
Per
Heard's
fortuna ho visto solo la mano, ma hai tanta roba?
head.
No, queste le ricariche della pistola, ma dopo un po' avevo smesso di scrivere perché tanto andavano bene, vaffanculo.
My understanding that it was Miss Heard's hair was what I saw.
Grazie Moican, grazie dei 2 anni, grazie mille. Bellci nuovo. No, ma più che altro ragazzi veramente, ma se uno si pigliasse un... Ma io non dico donna su uomo, uomo su donna, in generale.
Right?
Se uno si piglia un pugno in faccia, ma di quelli seri,
Exhibit 7, please.
ma cazzo, ma è gonfissimo. Cioè, non ha un poro... Che cazzo è sta roba? Alza il volume!
Yes.
This is a picture of a clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony.
Yes.
This is a picture
Sentite abbastanza
of a
bene?
clump of hair on the floor that you referenced in your prior testimony.
Objection vague.
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
Yes.
Did you take
Ma
it
poi
on your phone?
Iria, cioè, non sono manco capelli lunghi, sono pezzi di capelli. Sono pezzi di capelli. Cioè, questa ha preso la spazzola, ha tolto il
Yes.
grumo di capelli che erano nella spazzola e li ha buttati
And
per
before you
terra.
took this photograph, did you move the hair in any way?
Cioè, non sono manco
No.
capelli interi. Ma di che cazzo
Okay, so
parliamo?
this picture is the clump of hair exactly as you found it, right?
Correct.
And when did you take this photograph?
When I was taking
Si è fatta la scella e ne ha approfittato. Ma no, ma infatti, Cristo, cioè, prendi una ciocca. Ma non, ti dico che non se ne manco tagliati, non è una ciocca tagliata. Quelli lì sono capelli presi da qualche parte.
Do you recall taking a photograph of a wooden platform bed which had a
Non se li
partition
taglierebbe i
bed frame?
capelli. Non se li taglierebbe. Questi sono i capelli del pettine per me. Per me sono i capelli del pettine. Iria, tu che sei donna, che mi
Did you
dici?
photograph the
Sono i
bed
capelli
just
del
as you
pettine.
found it?
Yes.
You didn't move anything off or onto the bed?
No.
Sono troppo stopposi e secchi.
Where was the bed broken, if you remember?
E certo, Dark.
It was a platform bed, and the edge of the platform had like a long shard of wood off the corner, or like off the edge.
was the broken bed? In which penthouse?
4.
In which room?
The bedroom.
I'm going to show you a document that will be marked Pennington Exhibit 8. Bears the base number Pennington 5. Do you recognize this photograph, Miss Pennington?
Yes.
Did you take this photograph?
C'è il coltellino lì.
Yes.
Ah, quindi è lei quella che ha fatto la foto?
You see that on the left side of what I assume is the mattress and the comforter.
Gli chiede il coltello.
There appears to be something on the bed.
Is it possible to zoom in?
Sure.
Sì, un attimo, dimmi. Aspetta.
You see in the picture there appears to be something on the bed.
Yes.
Qua è il letto spaccato, ma
Is it
questa
something that was
spaccatura...
already there when you found the bed?
Per forza dirà sì.
I don't remember seeing that before.
It's not something that you put on the bed.
Fa vedere il
right?
letto spaccato, ma è rotto
No.
chiaramente con un coltello piantato e fatto così.
No.
So I believe you already testified that the next day Ms. Heard was going on the James Corden show, right?
Quindi lei è una degli amici, delle amiche, del cerchio di amici di Amber che faceva ste stronzate.
Which testification?
Today.
Non con la
Today.
schiena, scusa, vi ho detto con la schiena,
the
sempre
next
sbagliavo,
day,
con lo
yes.
stivale. Secondo loro Johnny con lo stivale l'ha
You were with Ms.
scheggiato.
Heard when she was getting ready for the show at her apartment, true?
True.
No, che è plastificato, è legno massello quella roba lì, col cazzo che si spacca con una pedata.
Five.
Ma non è l'unica, cioè è proprio una cerchia di amici King che faceva
You
ste
remember
porcate.
that, Samantha,
No, Crystal.
Melanie, and Adir were there assisting Ms. Heard getting ready?
Yes.
Who is Samantha?
Samantha
Appena finisci di stampare
is
monto sta roba.
Johnny's stylist and was also doing styling for Amber.
And who is Melanie?
Amber's makeup artist.
And who is Adir?
È una cuffia per
Amber's
l'estrusore della
hairstylist.
stampante per mantenere le temperature.
Do you recall anybody else being there?
Non mi fa impazzire, Crystal.
No.
Sì, ma devi avere uno stivale chiodato, perché come cazzo fai a far presa con la suola, Invicti?
I remember her showing the injuries.
Who did she show?
Ma
the
infatti,
injuries
cioè
to?
quel tronco lì sarà un tronco secolare
She
della foresta
showed
pluviale, figurati.
Melanie her lip.
CS ci ho giocato pochissimo.
Adir
Ho
the
iniziato a streamare su Tarkovio.
missing hair on her head.
Ms. Pennington, I want to talk to you about Ms. Heard's birthday in April 2000.
Una cosa che mi manca, importante, è capire chi sta interrogando adesso, se gli avvocati di lei o di lui.
You remember that after Ms. Heard's birthday dinner, you and Ms. Heard and some other friends were scheduled to leave for Coachella?
100 e lei e Camille?
Yes.
So after the dinner, I know you attended the dinner, but after the dinner the next day, when you arrived to the penthouse,
A me non
you
sembra Camille.
noticed shattered glass on Ms. Heard's bedroom floor.
Correct.
What kind of
Quindi-
glass was it?
I don't know.
Can you tell where it comes from?
Sì, King, lei è nello studio degli avvocati di Amber, da quello che ho capito. Lei è nello studio degli avvocati di Amber che tra l'altro le stanno suggerendo le risposte, perché ieri c'è stato un momento in cui le fanno una domanda, lei sta zitta e senti uno in sottovoce che gli fa non ero lì quella sera. E lei dice non ero lì quella sera. Cioè, ma palese, proprio
At the
busted.
time of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Do you recall where the dogs were when you were in the bedroom with Miss Heard on April 22nd, 2016?
Tra l'altro, King, le hanno proprio suggerito una risposta in avvocatese, cioè come quando Amber dice non sono d'accordo con con la vostra
in bed.
caratterizzazione di questo evento, che è la
Were you
frase
concerned
standard
about
per
the dogs
dire
injuring themselves on the glass?
fuck you. Cioè, gli ha proprio suggerito una
Yes.
roba del genere. Ma è legale? Ma no, ma io spero che lo capiscano.
Did she look
Cioè,
upset?
When I arrived,
vai, Legione.
Yes.
she was asleep.
Sì, Bearded, sì,
When she woke up,
sì.
did she look upset to you?
Ma il fatto che lei ci metta così tanto risposta... C'ha chiaramente un mimo dietro il monitor, non c'è l'avvocato lì, c'ha uno dietro il monitor che sta facendo tutti i gesti del
What made
mondo.
you think that she was upset or looked upset?
She started crying.
Now let's turn to the events of May 21, 2016. Okay. At some point, did Miss Heard tell you that Mr. Depp wanted to come to the penthouse to get...
Il discorso è che gli avvocati di lui sono per telefono. Metti anche che
I
erano
don't
per
remember what
videoconferenza,
exact date
loro stanno vedendo
she
solo
said
la sua
that, but
faccia.
She said that.
Non vedono quello che c'è dietro. Quindi questa è la prima volta che vedono in pubblico, ma tu capisci che magari mentre sei in videochiamata non senti che le suggeriscono le risposte.
So, do you recall knowing that Mr. Depp was planning to come by the Eastern Club
Esatto, Witch.
on or about May 21st, 2016 to collect some stuff?
I remember that she told me that he wanted to come over.
Tutte, Ana.
Do you remember who was at the penthouse?
Se l'avesse visto, sì.
Came over?
No, è tagliata la registrazione quando c'è un'obiezione accolta, da quello che ho capito, Umbre.
On May 21st, 2016. You were there, obviously.
Ciao,
correct?
Iria.
Yes.
And Miss Heard was there?
Yes.
Was Josh Drew there?
Yes.
Ah, l'abbiamo già visto.
Was Elizabeth Mars there?
Yes.
Were you preparing for...
No, perché questa qua è solo per la giuria, cioè qua non è una prova che stanno poi esaminando gli avvocati, questa roba è per la giuria, fine.
I was preparing.
Was anybody assisting you prepare for that show?
Yes.
And you were in Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016 preparing
A vantaggio
for
di
that
chi è?
show?
Di lei.
We were in and out of Penthouse 5 and...
Secondo me non li hanno revisionati, gli avvocati l'hanno visto sul momento e basta. Appunto, Umbre.
Heard left Penthouse 1 and Penthouse 5,
La puttana si stampa in fretta, oh.
and she went to Penthouse 3, correct? At some point that evening?
Yes.
Sometime after Miss Heard left to go back to Penthouse 3, you received a text message from her, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were when you received this message?
PH1, Penthouse 1.
Where was
Infatti
Mr.
questa
Drew?
qua è una intervista di gennaio e gli avvocati di Depp sono per telefono.
With me in PH1.
And where was Miss Mars?
She was either with us in
Ha suggerito.
PH1 or
Han suggerito.
in...
And where was Miss Mars?
She was either with us in PH1 or in PH5.
Ma
Do
scherziamo?
you remember what you were doing when you received this message?
No.
What did you do after you received this message from Miss Heard?
I went straight over to PH3.
Did you remember when you went straight over to page 3?
Ma poi vi rendete conto che sti parassiti del cazzo facevano le
Sorry,
cavallette
will you
tra
repeat
le
the first
penthouse
beginning of
di
the
Johnny
question?
Depp.
Broke up a bit.
When you went to penthouse 3, did you hear Mr. Depp and Miss Heard yelling?
Yes.
Do you recall what they were saying to each other?
No.
PH Penthouse.
To penthouse 3 when you
Penthouse
got there?
è tipo il top di un mega palazzo, cioè l'attico di un mega palazzone.
Did you have a key?
Yes.
L'attico, l'attico. Vai Petre. Sì, sono tutti arrampicatori sociali, amici di un'arrampicatrice sociale. Quindi sono beta arrampicatori sociali attaccati all'alfa.
I believe you previously testified that the penthouses 3, 4, and 5 were all connected. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so you can get from penthouse 5 to penthouse 3 without going out the main hallway. Is that right?
Correct.
When you entered penthouse 3, only Mr. Depp and Miss Heard were in the penthouse, right?
Ma che cazzo di domande sono?
Do you know where Mr. Depp was standing?
Convintissima.
Yes.
Where was he?
In the living room.
What part of the living room?
The sort of like the entry, like the in-between from the kitchen to the living room.
And where was Miss Heard?
On the other side of the living room.
Sta cercando di beccare le bugie, più che altro
Yes.
sta cercando di chiedere cose che chiederà anche ad altre persone per confrontarle, penso.
8 feet? 10 feet?
Piedi, King. Stanno a 2-3 miliardi metri.
When you first came in?
Yes.
What's the first thing you remember, Miss Pennington, when you entered the penthouse?
The first thing I remember was just hearing them. I don't remember what they were saying, but it was verbal argument, and then he continued to yell.
Di nuovo! Ma di nuovo!
Just hearing them.
Sentite sottofondo.
I don't remember what they were saying, but it was verbal argument, and then he continued
L'avete sentito,
to yell,
vero?
and
L'avete sentito? Non sono
I
scemo.
went over to her and then stepped
Non sono
between them.
scemo. Il mio dubbio è che Camille o comunque gli avvocati che erano in videoconferenza non l'abbiano sentita sta roba.
The corner of the living room, the coffee table fit into the L shape. Amber was on the far side, Johnny was on the other side of the L.
Non lo so cosa
With the
possono
coffee
fare.
table between them.
At some point, Mr. Depp's security team came in. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that was Jerry Judge and Sean Beck?
Però siamo in tanti a dirlo che si sente.
Yes.
Where was Mr. Depp standing when they entered the apartment?
In the space between the...
Ma come cazzo fai a ricordarti dei dettagli del genere? Ma di non mi ricordo. Ma che cazzate sono?
And you were with Miss Heard on the sofa?
Yes.
E il problema delle bits è che sono super equalizzate. Devi usare un equalizzatore, Petre.
Mr. Depp eventually left penthouse 3 with his picture. Is that correct?
Eventually, yes.
And he left you and Miss Heard in penthouse 3?
Yes.
From the moment you entered house 3 until Mr. Depp left, did you see Mr. Depp touch Miss Heard?
Non ne ho la più pallida idea, Cini.
I didn't see him touch her.
Did you see him throw anything at her?
I didn't see him throw anything at her.
Settaggi bestiali, ragazzi, un
What did you do after Mr. Depp left penthouse 3?
We took Amber to penthouse 1.
Is that where Mr. Drew and Miss Mars were?
I don't know where they were specifically. I don't know if they were in different places or which apartment they were in.
Allora, non durante una deposizione, King, e soprattutto dovrebbe farlo il suo avvocato, ma non durante una deposizione. Un'amica di Amber. Cosa sta facendo lei intanto, secondo voi?
She wanted her purse. So I asked Josh to go find her purse in PH3.
Ma voi vi rendete conto che si tratta di cose di 10 anni fa? È impossibile che se le ricordino.
Did you observe any
È impossibile.
property damage in any of the penthouses?
Yes.
What damage did you observe in penthouse 3?
He had smashed a bunch of on his way out. I saw this. On his way out, he had knocked over a bunch of items that were on the kitchen island, fruit baskets and bottles and things like that. That was the main damage.
Ma appunto.
What damage did you see in PH5?
In PH5, there were photos that had been smashed off the wall, items that I had been working on the table that had been thrown against the wall. Yeah.
You also observed injuries to Ms. Heard's face, correct?
Yes.
What did you see?
Ma dai, ma che cazzo è?
Red.
Ma vi pare? Domanda.
Yeah.
You also observed injuries to Ms. Heard's face, correct?
Hai osservato ferite sulla faccia di Amber?
Yes.
What did you see?
Ma che cazzo è Slowpoke questa?
Her cheek was red and swelling.
Do you recall when you noticed her cheek?
No.
But you didn't see how.
Ma la tua migliore amica era ferita al volto?
At some point, the police officers arrived. Is that correct?
At 2 points, 2 police officers arrived.
Before the first set of police officers showed up, had you cleaned up any of the damage in penthouse 3 or 5?
Sì.
I don't remember.
Where were you when the police officers arrived? The first set?
Ma non è vero, Umbe, perché a volte
PH3.
rispondono instant. Grazie, Thunder. Momento.
Did you see Ms. Heard speak to the officer? The first set.
Yes.
Did you see the officers enter penthouse 3?
Yes.
They look around penthouse 3?
Yes.
Did they enter
Davvero,
penthouse 5,
Ombe?
the first set of police officers?
I'm not sure.
Is it your testimony, Ms. Pennington, that
Mentre
the
la
first set of
manicure,
police
mentre
officers
guardiamo
saw the
sta roba,
damage
King?
you allege Mr. Depp caused in penthouse?
I don't know what they saw, but there
Tocca.
was damage there.
Pedicure sullo sfondo. Col
And
piedino,
another
con
set
lo
of two
smaltino
officers
sullo
came
sfondo.
later in that night. Is that correct?
Correct.
Between the first set of officers leaving and the second set of officers arriving, how much time had passed?
Come commenti, King, il fatto che abbiamo fatto un picco di visualizzazione in più alto di Inox facendo questa spettegolata? Facciamo un salone di bellezza con tutti i caschi per
I don't remember
chiacchierare.
exactly.
Do you have an approximation of how much time had passed? An hour,
È normale.
2, less than that?
Less than 3.
3 hours? Less than 3 hours?
Less than 3.
In this time, do you recall cleaning up any of the damage to penthouse 3 or 5?
No, King no.
I don't recall.
My dog step on a bee.
Do you recall Ms. Heard speaking with either of the second set of officers?
Eh? Se è troppo alto il
No,
volume
I don't
ditemelo,
remember. She did or not.
No, sicuramente tu.
Did these officers, the second set, look around penthouse 3?
Forse posso tenere così? Troppo basso
I
così?
can't guess, so I don't know.
O ci sta?
Ms. Pennington, have you ever personally witnessed Mr. Depp physically attack Ms. Heard?
Yeah, can you be specific to physically attacked?
Did you ever
Basso, va
witness
bene.
Mr. strike Ms. Heard?
No.
Basso.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp throw
È solo
anything
paura
at
perché se uno fa una sabbia in questo momento
Never
esplode
witnessed him
l'universo.
throw anything at her, around her, yes.
Ve lo alzo così, non di più, perché veramente se fanno una sub scoppia il mondo.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp throw anything at Ms. Heard?
No.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp kick Ms. Heard?
No, Thunder,
No.
no.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp physically injure Ms. Heard, cause her an injury?
I didn't see it.
So that's a no, right?
I didn't see it.
Your Honor, at this point, I start asking Ms. Pennington some questions, so we'll play that.
Ah, era Rottenborn!
Just get straight on some exhibits, please.
Okay.
Mi sono scritto le modifiche all'audio che ho fatto come i fonici. Adesso fa... Salto, 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 salto. Ecco di chi era quest'opera di perfezione, Mr. Rottenborn. Sta per evolvere.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ripeto.
Are we ready to start?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Quanto peso ha il giudizio della giuria? È letteralmente l'unico verdetto.
Testified a number of times about some of the events that we touched on yesterday, right?
Yes.
Has there ever been anything in any of those prior sworn statements or testimony that you've given that has prevented you from telling the truth?
No.
And is all of your prior sworn testimony, including the testimony you gave yesterday, true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Ma che domanda è?
Are you here today on behalf of one side or the other? And by that I mean on behalf of Amber or on behalf of Johnny?
No.
Would you consider yourself adverse or hostile to either party?
No.
Any other time that you can remember?
Forse adesso posso
Not
passare un pelo.
specifically, no.
Ora posso.
Was there a name?
Ora la sta interrogando il lato di lei.
As Mr. Depp's different self?
Yes.
What was that name?
We called it the monster.
Who is we?
All of us. Me,
Lui se la
Johnny,
ride.
Amber, and anyone else in the inner circle that was privy to
Ma chi è questa?
the private things that would happen.
Bassissimo.
How do you know that Johnny called it the monster?
He named it that.
You heard him refer to this other version of
Ora
himself
ce l'hanno
as the
col
monster,
nomignolo Monster che Amber usa ogni tanto. Tra l'altro brutto il palazzo, eh.
Saw it written in a text.
Did you receive texts from Mr. Depp referring to this other version of himself as the monster?
I can't remember specifically any of them.
But you do recall hearing or reading Mr. Depp directly referring to himself as the monster.
Yes.
And why did you do that?
Tra l'altro fatta il giorno dopo, così nel frattempo gli avvocati hanno avuto tempo di ragionare su quanto hanno fatto.
And over the course of your relationship, when
Ma infatti Armstrong,
when Amber needed your help, you tried to be there for her, right?
bravo, lo milcavano male.
What do
Ora
you think about
piange?
that?
Piange?
I was scared for Amber. I was sad for her, and I was also sad for Johnny.
Ieri non mi ricordavo neanche se sanguinava, ma oggi piango perché avevo paura per lei.
I
Ah!
really wanted them to be able to get it together.
Ieri non mi ricordavo se avevo un occhio amputato, ma adesso poverina. Oh, comunque è più brava di Amber. Forse la potrebbero prendere in
Very
Aquaman.
unpredictable. And she didn't have a lot of self-preservation.
Oh, per ora pianto più di Amber. Mi stanno... C'è sotto
What
uno...
specifically, what type of harm were you worried about for Amber?
Testimonianza del giorno prima.
I wasn't worried.
Testimonianza del giorno prima. La tua migliore amica era sfigurata visibilmente in volto?
Physical abuse was more evident. I was worried. I was worried for her physical safety. I was worried that when he turned,
Testimonianza di oggi.
something that was worse than he ever intended.
Ora, partono a piangere in simbiosi.
When you say, talk about
I swear.
abuse, is this signs of abuse that you personally.
Io chiedo 50 e 50. Tra sì e no.
Can you explain what you mean specifically by that?
Did you observe
Amber piange perché si è appena reso conto che la sua amica ha un talento migliore del
on
suo.
Amber of that abuse?
Yes.
Aspetta, c'ho il portafoglio per fare sta ma torno subito.
Testified a little bit yesterday about an incident between Johnny and Amber that took place at Hicksville. You remember that?
Yes.
Tell me as best you can everything that you remember about that.
We were sitting around the campfire. I don't remember who the larger group was. And Amber and Kelly Sue were sitting on a chair together, hugging. And Johnny came up and said, "Get your hands off my woman." And it was surprising because it was a very benign two friends sitting on the same chair, hanging out. And
So, mo è tutto a
it was
posto.
also surprising because Johnny had been hanging out with everybody in a friendly way, and a switch flipped when that happened. And Amber got up, went to go comfort Johnny, and then they went back to their trailer.
How would you describe Johnny's tone when he said, "Get off my woman"?
Ciao,
At first I thought it was a
riassuntino.
joke.
A joke, è
I thought he
riassuntino.
was kidding because it was so unexpected.
Non piange più
from
nessuno dei
the
due.
way that the rest of the night had been going, and then at some point, I think Amber realized that it was not a joke and got up to diffuse the situation.
Did you perceive Kelly Sue to be acting inappropriately in any way toward Miss Heard?
No.
Kelly
have
Sue
you
chi è?
seen, when you said a switch flipped in Mr. Depp, that was your testimony, right?
Just now?
Yeah, just now.
Yeah.
Was it surprising to you to see?
No.
And why not?
He switched sometimes.
Bipolare.
And what do you mean by that when you say he switched?
Johnny would be acting like his wonderful
Wonderful,
self.
magical,
A certain portion of
incredible.
an occasion where people were hanging out, or sometimes just privately at home. And I never knew what caused it. The switch would happen to where he would either disappear, go somewhere off by himself, or his mood would change to something darker.
Sicuramente.
And
Kelly su Milano, non so chi sia, Moican.
yeah.
Esatto, King, esattamente. Perché il discorso è diffamazione vale
What do you
solo,
recall, and we'll
vale
get
solo
to-
se dichiari il falso. Johnny sta dicendo, tu mi hai rovinato la carriera dicendo delle cazzate su di me.
Something darker. Do you remember any specific examples?
Quindi tutta la causa sta girando sul fatto che lui deve dimostrare che è tutto falso e lei deve dimostrare che anche solo una cosina era vera.
At this moment, specific times when it would happen, generally, he would go away from where the rest of the people were
Ma sono l'unico che prova pena per Johnny Depp. Cioè, mi fa pena pensare che cazzo ha passato quest'uomo per sti anni.
Sometimes they would.
And tell us about the next morning at Hicksville, what you saw and observed.
Ok,
I
Monica.
went to
Pena non
the
direi per
trailer
il discorso dei
knocked on the
soldi,
door.
King, perché no? Beh, Johnny Depp a mani
I
basse,
think they already
Rabex.
left though.
Cioè, finora non c'è una cosa vera detta da lei, sono tutte cazzate smentite.
Disarray.
Describe the disarray as best.
Ma non lo fa Pirati dei Caraibi 6, ha detto che non lo farà mai. Ed è uno che ha detto,
Like I said
ha promesso ad
yesterday,
Amber che non l'avrebbe più guardata negli occhi, non l'ha ancora
had been
guardata.
knocked off.
Ha detto che non torna da Disney
Things were
manco per
stripped
300
off
milioni.
The trailer cushions off the couch bank.
Over the course of now, you've known Miss Heard since 2003, right?
No, hanno fatto diverse cause,
Have you ever
Pat.
known her to knock light fixtures off a wall?
No.
Have you ever known her to throw pillows and cushions
Per
off
me no,
couches?
Alla. Anche
No.
perché Disney sta diventando una
Have you
merda,
ever
secondo me.
known her to get in a rage and destroy property?
Non perché è crucciato,
No.
non per le facce che... Non per quello, King, ma perché mi medesimo nel turbine di merda che ha dovuto mangiarsi per tutti questi anni. Non per il suo modo di fare, assolutamente.
Yes.
Ma perché mi medesimo in quello che ha vissuto.
Fast forward a little bit in time, Miss Pennington, to an episode that we talked about yesterday, to some
Perché ti fa
extent.
incazzare?
Do you remember being with Amber after something that happened the day before she went on the James Corden show in December 2015?
Dimmi qualcosa di James Corden.
What do you remember? And I know this is painful and emotional, but give me your best recollection of.
Sono d'accordo con te, King, però sono anche consapevole del fatto che
From the
potrebbe
night before.
non aver avuto controllo su questa cosa.
With Amber the night before the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
And were you with her the day of the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
And did you observe Miss Heard and Miss Heard's residence the day before the James Corden appearance and the day of the James Corden appearance?
Yes.
No, infatti, cioè, è esattamente la mia posizione.
Tell me everything that you can remember, starting with the day before. And I may interrupt you and ask you to clarify certain things, but that's everything you remember.
So she asked me to come over to her residence, PH3 or PH5. I don't remember which one I entered. And
Michela, nulla di che. Ha testimoniato solo questa ragazza in video, peraltro, per cui neanche live. Ma non sta solo dando ragione a Amber su delle botte, ma non ha senso il modo in cui lo sta facendo.
the hair had been ripped out of her head. I went through all of the penthouses. She didn't cancel. I don't think I even slept that night watching her just to make sure she didn't.
Attenzione, eh.
Is that because you were worried she had a concussion?
Sta partendo.
Yes.
Finora ha fatto una testimonianza della serie, Michela, ma la tua amica era spaccata di botte in viso?
Going to go take pictures throughout the penthouses.
Sì.
Why wouldn't I?
Ms. Pennington, I'm gonna, you saw a few selected
Sta
pictures
pensando alla
yesterday.
sconfitta e riesce a
I'm gonna
piangere.
show you a number of pictures today that we need to go through, and I'll ask you some questions about them, okay?
Are you able to see Exhibit 15?
Yeah, I can see it. Can you, Ms. Pennington?
Yes.
La sua interpretazione di tristezza è letteralmente l'emoji con la bocca al contrario. Oh no, 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 mi bannano, mi
Does
bannano.
this picture truly and accurately depict Miss Heard's appearance on December 2015, during the night that you just discussed?
Yes.
Do you know whether or not you took this picture?
I do not.
That you were with Miss Heard that evening after the incident?
I was.
Distrutta.
What room was this taken in?
This is the bathroom.
Rocky Bennington è quella che l'aiutava a fare le foto, by the
Johnny
way.
Amber's bedroom in PH3.
My dog steps on a bee.
What injuries, if any, do you observe on Miss Heard in this picture?
Her right eye has a mark and a bruise. Her nose is swollen. There's bruising on her left
Ma
eye.
dove è gonfio il suo naso? Scusatemi.
And Exhibit 16 is up.
Ma dov'è che è gonfio il suo naso?
What is this picture of Miss Pennington?
There's a picture of Amber's face
Grazie, Pedez.
with bruising and a mark on her
Sempre
right
più vicina,
eye,
sono contento.
swelling on her nose, bruising on the left eye. In the same bathroom.
Ma potrebbe tranquillamente essere trucco.
And
Cioè,
when
ma
was this picture
dov'è?
taken?
Ma cos'è?
I assume the same night.
Is that the night in December 2015 that you've been testifying about for the last few minutes?
Yeah.
Do you see behind Miss Heard's left ear? There's a picture on the wall, and then a writing a note above the picture.
Yes.
Ma cazzo è zoom in hands di CSI?
What is that note signed? If you can tell.
Steve.
To your understanding.
Zoom ancora sulla pupilla che voglio vedere il riflesso della stronzata che stava guardando, per favore. Zoom ancora un po'.
And what does it say right above that?
It says you're Steve.
Zoom. In hands.
What's the line above that
Zoom.
say?
In hands.
Eternally. Something, always, up, 3 exclamation points. Love you eternally, you're Steve.
And Steve, in that note, refers to the same man that you understood to have inflicted these injuries on Miss Heard, correct?
Yes.
Sì, è stato Stefano. Ma chi è Stefano?
And does this picture truly and
Orazio.
accurately
Zoom sulla
reflect
pupilla. Di più.
what you
Di
observed
più.
on Miss Heard
Di più.
that night in December?
Ecco che ha ucciso
2015?
Kennedy.
Partially.
When you said partially, what do you mean by that?
Ma zoom sul livido, va?
You can't see the rest of the injuries.
Zoom sul livido, per favore.
What other injuries are you referring to?
Vedo anche una tetta sullo sfondo, by the way.
Hair being pulled out.
Buba.
Exhibit 17 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Zoom.
Amber's face turned at a slight profile with a bruise on her eye, swelling on her nose.
Ma ti pare?
When was this picture taken?
Grazie Giorgio.
Here's
Ma ti
taken the
pare?
same night, same moment of the previous two pictures.
Ma
Does
ti
this picture
pare?
fairly and accurately depict, at least in part, Miss
Ma
Heard's
secondo voi una
appearance,
testata
on that night?
sul naso?
Yes.
Sai che lei ha detto che quella roba
18.
gliel'ha fatta con una testata, King? Ma te lo immagini? Qua ha solo occhiaie.
What is this document, Miss Pennington?
It's a
That's
photo
in the
Piange.
of Amber's face with two black eyes and swollen bottom lip.
Did you take this photo?
Livido sparito. È già sparito.
You said a swollen nose.
Yes.
Va bene, King.
Does
Possiamo
this
vedere anche
picture
il
fairly
labbro
accurately
spaccato,
depict,
Io mi tolgo, il labbro è spaccato
at
in
least
questa
in part,
foto.
Miss Heard's appearance on that night in December 15, 2015?
Yes.
Did you take pictures of Miss Heard that night?
Yes.
Lei è la complice di ste foto.
You believe that
Lei
you
è la
took this
complice
picture?
di queste foto.
I don't know.
But in any event, it accurately reflects what Miss Heard's appearance from that evening.
Yes.
Exhibit 19 is up.
Ma ci credo, ma King, ma così, cioè, ma una maschera di Zorro ti metti se ti tira la testa.
And I'm sorry this is so hard, Miss Pennington.
I'm sorry, this is so hard, Miss
Get through
Pennington!
as
Yeah.
get through the best we can.
I'm
What is
sorry,
this
this is so hard!
This is Amber's face turned a profile,
Ah!
showing more of her bottom bloody lip and her right bruised eye.
Ah!
And what night does this, or when does this show Amber?
It appears to be the same night and the same series of photos as before.
Where was this picture taken, if you know?
And, it's in the bedroom, facing she's sitting on the bed and it's facing the
Porca puttana, Luca! Grazie dei 26 mesi, ma mi ero dimenticato del volume.
Was anyone with you and Amber that night after you came over?
I don't think so, no.
So is it fair to assume that either you or Amber took this picture?
Yes.
Does it look like Miss Heard took this picture?
No.
Do you recall taking this picture?
I took a lot of pictures.
A lot of
It
pictures.
would be... Yes.
Does Miss Heard's lower lip look like it's just chapped?
No, it does not.
Does it look like she just has a cold sore?
It does not look like a cold sore.
Exhibit 20 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is a picture of the...
Amber, ti faccio vedere un trucco, avresti potuto farlo anche tu, però mi rendo conto che il livello di skill è diverso.
Injury on the hairline and my thumb holding the hair back so that you can see it.
Does this picture depict marks that you saw on Amber on the night in December 2015 that we've been discussing?
Or the next morning.
One or the other?
Yes.
And Lucas, if you could just go back really quickly to the last picture, please. Pennington 19. I may have asked you this, Ms. Pennington, but I just want to make clear for the record, does this picture fairly and accurately depict Ms. Heard's appearance on that night in December 15, 2015 that we've been discussing?
Yes.
Exhibit 21 is up.
What is this a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
This is a close-up picture of the side of Amber's nose and mouth. She has,
Did you take? Go ahead. Go ahead.
She has swelling and an injury on her bottom lip.
Are there any other injuries you observe in this picture?
And see, you could see at the top of the photo, bruising on her eye and the small mark underneath her bottom eyelid.
Oh mio Dio! Ma è gore!
Did Miss Heard,
Un artista!
did she typically have that small mark underneath her eye or bruising around her eyes?
She did not usually have that small mark or bruising underneath her eyes.
Did she typically have injuries to her lip?
Sometimes.
And over the course of your friendship with Miss Heard during the time that she was in a relationship with Mr. Depp, how often would you all communicate?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
During the time that Miss Heard was in a relationship with Mr. Depp, how often would you communicate with Miss Heard? Like every day?
Troppo grande.
When she was filming, less. When she was home, all the time.
And you just testified, I believe it wasn't the only incident in which you observed injuries to Miss Heard's face or lips, correct?
Credibile, chat?
Right.
Were there any other times that you observed injuries to Miss Heard's face or lips?
È credibile?
Yes.
Exhibit 22 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Picture is hair pulled back to show the abrasion on the scalp where hair has been removed.
Whose head is that?
That's Amber's head.
Grazie, signora. Altro?
Was this, do you know when this picture was taken?
Either the night of the event or the next day.
Che giorno era?
You're referring to the event in December of 2015 that we've been talking about?
Yes.
Do you recall taking this picture, Miss Pennington, of Miss Heard's scalp?
Yes.
Does
Quando
this
era?
picture fairly and accurately depict the top of Miss Heard's scalp?
Ok.
During the day of or at the day after the December 2015 incident that you've been giving testimony about?
Yes.
Exhibit 23 is up.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
There's a picture
Sì,
of
descriva.
a clump of Amber's hair on the black carpet of the bedroom of PH4 with my finger there to show the scale of the hair.
Did you take this picture?
Yes.
When did you take this picture?
Either the night of the event, the December, the occurrence.
Notte, la notte dell'evento.
About.
Che ridicola è sta
In
roba,
December of
ragazzi.
2015?
Yes.
And how did you know that that was Amber's hair?
Sono gialli. Sono gialli.
hair had been ripped out of her head. This is the color of her hair. It's her home.
Sono gialli. Potrebbe essere anche del culo,
House 5.
4.
House 4.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to pull out clumps of her own hair?
Questa aveva chiavi di tutto.
No.
Miss Heard ever
La puttana di pa. Devo abbassare, ragazzi, non possiamo andare avanti così.
Make it appear as if she had a bruise when in fact she didn't. To your knowledge.
No.
Auguri
the
a noi.
opposite.
Grazie.
Kill nicchio.
What do you mean when you
Grazie.
say the opposite?
She often had to cover bruises and injuries.
Lascia perdere, lo dice a me, Gatsu.
Makeup.
Con questa chioma.
Did you see her cover bruises on her face with makeup?
Yes.
Can we pull up
Ma
the
che
document
cazzo
cited
stiamo
December
guardando?
2015 ALH 28_B, please. What is this picture, Miss Pennington?
Is a picture of Amber. She has a small mark underneath her right eye. She has her coat and her shirt on. They're in the kitchen. She's in the kitchen of PH3.
Do you know
L'amica di Amber che l'ha aiutata a fare le foto. Perché i ricordi sono troppo duri, canta. Red Eye. Ma come, non lo vedi? È palese, qua. Canta, dimmi se sono
The
credibile.
day following the December event or the
Che
day
dici?
after, maybe.
Può
I don't
andare?
know exactly when.
And did you take this picture?
I don't know.
Does it fairly and accurately depict Amber's appearance on the day you described?
On one of the days following, yes.
Ma non ha nulla, ma infatti.
Exhibit 25 is up.
Do you know what this is a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
This is a picture of the nightstand on the right side of the bed in Johnny and Amber's bedroom in PH3. It has a lamp that's fallen down, a book of rolling papers.
Sono finti 500 euro, sono un facsimile.
Plastic
Sono la prova per soffiarmi il naso.
Infinitum Nihil, which is Johnny's production company.
È una prova, canta, è una prova. È una prova.
Tea, broken glass,
È una prova.
and a small blue book
Ciao Anna.
on the floor that I can't make out what that is.
Did you ever know Amber to break glass next to her bed?
Prove.
No.
Ah, la mia inquadratura.
What's your knowledge about Mr. Depp's tendency to break things made of glass?
My knowledge is that I saw him do it once, and then I saw the
Lei ha
aftermath
fatto la
of
foto, lei stessa.
him breaking glass many times.
And on that evening in December 2015, did you see that we've been discussing? Did you see broken glass around the residence?
Bomba sti setting della stampante.
Yes.
Secondo me posso spingerla ancora un pelo.
Let's go to the next picture, December 2015, ALH_509_B. You've seen
Ma
this.
pure la mia, King.
What's this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is a picture of the platform bed in the bedroom of penthouse
È
4.
terribile.
The edge of the platform bed has a shard of wood that has broken off onto the floor.
Johnny ormai lo mastra Prato Fiorito,
Yes.
canta.
When did you take it?
Either the night of the event or the next day.
And when you say event, are you referring to, what are you referring to?
The December 15th event that we've been speaking about.
You said December 15th. You mean December 2015?
Yes, sorry, 2015.
Where is this bed in the residence?
This is in the penthouse 4. It's the middle. Sorry,
December 15th.
15th event that we've been speaking about.
You said December 15th. You mean December 2015?
Yes, sorry, 2015.
Ah sì, scusa, volevo
Where
dire
is this
quell'altro
bed in the
giorno.
residence?
This is in the penthouse 4. It's the middle penthouse between the main residence, PH3, Amber's closet, PH5. This is the one of the rooms that you walk through to get to.
Ma tutta sta gente che sa i turbo cazzi di Johnny Depp, comunque veramente,
upper
oh.
story of the homes.
Ma compratevi casa vostra.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to destroy a bed frame?
Esatto, Shiroda, esatto.
No.
Have you ever known? Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Have you ever known Miss Heard to destroy furniture?
No,
generally?
sono luci potenti, è ricco Johnny.
Miss Pennington, in all the photos that you have taken of
Era gennaio 2015 il calendario sul frigo. C'era gennaio e dicembre sopra.
between Amber and Johnny, have you ever done anything to alter those photos or, you know, make them appear to depict something that wasn't actually there or wasn't actually real?
Volume, mannaggia Cristo.
No.
I want to talk about the day of the Late Show. When I say that, do you understand I'm referring to Amber's appearance on the James Corden show?
Yes.
The Late Show with James Corden. Were you with Amber when she got ready for her appearance on that show?
Grazie
Yes.
Dilf del regalo.
Who else was present?
Il fatto è questo, cioè il fatto è che Amber dice di essere stata massacrata al 15, ma al 16 era un talk show perfetta.
Melanie, her makeup artist, and Samantha, her stylist.
No, mezza.
Were you there when her
Per cosa,
hair and
Matteo?
makeup was being styled or put on before her appearance on James Corden?
Yes.
Did you see anyone
Gabbuz la numero 2.
paint on a wound on her lip, or put
Cioè,
makeup
sì,
on her
da
lip
quello
to
che hai
make
detto
it
tu.
appear that there was a wound on her lip?
No.
Did you observe
Obiezione.
anyone ripping clumps of her hair out of her head?
No.
Ms. Pennington, did you to the extent that it's alleged that Miss Heard had no injuries when she went on the James Corden show, what is your reaction to that?
My reaction is that that is a false assessment or
Difficile, mezza.
statement.
And what's the basis for that testimony?
Beh, ma basta la foto di ieri, ma ieri l'avete visto quando ho
Because I
sovrapposto le
saw
foto, vero?
injuries
L'avete visto quando le ho sovrapposte? Sì, è live, è
on her
live.
body from the time directly after they happened throughout the next night, the next day, and as they continued to heal.
In the time that you spent with
È
Johnny, did
Rottenborn
he ever
quello che fa le domande,
express
l'avvocato di
a
lei.
similar sentiment that he was screw up or fuck up, in his words?
Yes.
And what did you tell me what you can remember about the instances when he said that and what your understanding was of what he meant?
In che senso,
My
Marcello?
understanding was that he
Ah, il video, ho capito. Hai visto che roba?
was sorry and apologetic and
Malato.
Or what?
for his behavior.
Quello di interchange.
When you say behavior, what are you referring to?
Verbal arguments, physical arguments.
And that was what he made clear to you in things that he said to you. Is that right?
What he made clear to me in our conversations was that he was very sorry and that he was working to get clean and get better, and that he was asking for forgiveness.
Non ne ho
and
idea, perché è una
trying
registrazione. Lei non è live, il processo è live, lei no. Se era quello che chiedeva Venom, lei non è live.
to think that he was going to get better.
Did you ever see him get better?
Yeah.
Ah! Ma tutte e due sono luride.
A lot of times.
But did you ever see him get better permanently?
No.
Your Honor, at this point, we start questioning Ms. Pennington about May 21st. We're happy to keep going, but if you wanted to take a break, I think we're about halfway through this volume.
Okay, let's go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes. Again, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay?
Questa coi capelli neri è più brava. Ok, chat, ma sono io che sono di parte e mi sembra di vedere solo cazzate o anche voi vedete solo cazzate?
Back
Cioè,
at 11 o'clock then, okay?
Thank you,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
11 o'clock, 15 minuti. Cioè, ma sono io. Perché mi sembra assolutamente palese che sono cazzate. Cioè, la testimonianza di lei sembrano veramente cazzate. Oggi sarà pesante, sì, Marcello. Oggi sì. Sì, ma io ho la percezione che stanno recitando e anche voi avete la stessa percezione. Ma secondo voi è perché siamo di parte o perché abbiamo il cervello? Sei cattivo, Pino? Io mi intrippo a vedere la stampante 3D che si muove. PLA, sì, sto provando. Tra l'altro sono indeciso se comprare questo kit. Vi faccio vedere. Allora, ho comprato il PET pagato 18 euro. Questo costa 60 euro, però sono 3 kg. Sono 3 PLA diversi. E sia il grigio che il verde ce li ho già. Quindi refillo le risme che ho già e in più aggiungo questo qua sotto. Io di materiali ho... Aspettate che metto un po' di musica magari. Però volevo... Ok. I materiali io li tengo in delle scatole dell'Ikea per il cibo. PLA grigio. PET carbonio, questo è il mio preferito. E poi abbiamo materiali esotici. In questa che ho modificato per poterci stampare da dentro, cioè attacchi il tubetto Bowden, c'hai l'etichetta del materiale sopra e l'igrometro per sapere l'umidità dentro. Questa non so se riesco a farvelo vedere, ma ho nylon, che è una bomba, questo stampa dei pezzi pazzeschi, e TPU, questo è quello morbido, questo è quello tipo per fare le cover dei telefoni. Come resistenza mi sembra buona, lo uso per le bozze a cazzo, cioè lo uso per i prototipi. Ah, giusto, poi ho anche del legno. Comunque, il PLA stampa così. Non li devi usare mai i rulli insieme. E di solito lo uso quando stampo oggetti che non sono ancora definitivi o di cui non me ne frega niente. Tipo quando stavo facendo la tesi, perché poi sopra col pennarello ci potevo scrivere. Oppure quello grigio. Design. Replica pure la polvere, hai visto? Fighissimo. E dai, vabbè, non mi rompete le balle, una scatola così, vi pare che devo tenerla pulita? È letteralmente in magazzino. Non scassate le balle. Quindi, in poche parole, non so se prendere sta roba qua. È che costa più del PET, cioè il PET ho trovato questo, che è quello che compravo sempre, ho semplicemente trovato un venditore che l'ho messo a 18 euro, non so se sbaglia, ma mi sembra veramente, veramente impossibile. Toh, 18 euro. Pochissimo, che stampate 3D, è il clone di una Wanao Duplicator i3. Per 18 euro lo provo, al massimo faccio il reso. Come tempo di stampa cosa? Io col materiali della Sunlu ho stampato fino adesso, mi sono sempre trovato bene. 18 euro per il filamento, ma subito. Ah, i soldi li ho, però devo capire se usarli per quello o per altro. Cambia tra PLA e PET. Il PET è un materiale di gran lunga superiore. Per fartela breve, PLA, che è questo, Facile da stampare, costa poco, di solito costa meno degli altri, molto duro, ma molto fragile, cioè ha un comportamento vetroso. PET molto più malleabile, per cui assorbe molto meglio gli impatti, un materiale superiore sotto ogni punto di vista, in teoria più difficile da stampare, ma per me è più facile da stampare. Il PET per adesso è il best materiale che ho. Quando faccio i pezzi in PET mi durano un casino. Ce l'ho sul fucile, sta roba. La stampante aveva di serie l'hot-end tutto in metallo. No, l'ho appena comprata l'hot-end tutta in metallo, ma di serie sì, era già ottima così. Cosa stampi di solito come materiale, dici? E io uso sempre PET al carbone, ne ho fatti fuori quintali. Quintali. È l'idea che ho io, Crazy. Pezzi di più materiali non con la mia stampante. Ah, oggetti, cose meccaniche. Comunque, per esempio, queste piastre che abbiamo stampato l'altro giorno, di cui ancora non mi sono fatto fare il preventivo e mannaggia il tempo passa. Ma ste piastre, per esempio, mi gira i coglioni che le ho stampate col carbonio, perché potevo stampare tranquillamente col PLA merda cesso, tanto poi le devo buttare. Cioè, queste qua sono scarti, cioè li devo fare solo per vedere le dimensioni. Una cosa stampata col filamento in legno, l'avevo preso per stampare i teschi perché sembrava molto osso e quindi i teschi avevo fatto fotogrammetria. No, Virgio, ho stampato 3 kg, non ho mai cambiato il nozzle e va ancora una bomba. Non credo di avere niente dietro. Guardo nella cassettiera e questa di sinistra ce l'avevo in ufficio, ma non ti garantisco. Che tristezza. €20 di marche da bollo pagate per le fatture mai spesi perché poi ho cambiato lavoro. Questo l'ho rubato in ufficio. Questo l'ho rubato in ufficio. Buono. Mi sono appena rifatto i €20 di marche da bollo. Ecco dove cazzo era il metro. Tra l'altro ho tutte le lampadine di ricambio. Pazzesco quanta roba ho. No, non ce l'ho, ce l'ho di PLA. €30 l'ho pagato, porca puttana. Devo mettere a posto lo studio, ragazzi. Non posso vivere così. Non posso vivere così. Devo mettere a posto sto cazzo di studio. C'ho le maniglie delle porte nei cassetti. C'ho le maniglie delle porte. Ma che cazzo? Non so da dove arriva. Non so cos'è. Ma non so. Questo è il piano che uso per stampare col nylon. Scopriamo cosa c'è nel cassetto dopo. Un tappetino del mouse uguale a quell'altro tappetino del mouse? Cavi Ethernet rubati, una copia della mia tesi. Oh, buono! Buono! Cavi dell'iPhone. Ah, i miei cacciavitini di precisione, ecco dove cazzo erano finiti. E questo era un prototipo mai portato avanti per montare la fotocamera dietro il mirino dell'M700. Di qua? Questo è l'unico cassetto dove so cosa c'è. Da quando è lì quella cassettiera? Allora, quella cassettiera, 2 anni fa, quando c'è stato il Covid, non sono più andato in studio, no? Non sono più andato in studio, ho deciso di diventare streamer full time. E mi sono ripreso le mie cose dell'ufficio. E tra le mie cose dell'ufficio c'era quella cassettiera. Quindi io l'ho portata a casa, l'ho infilata sotto la scrivania, boom. Quindi quella, cioè, ho i pantaloni stracciati, davvero? Dove? Dove c'erano i pantaloni stracciati? Dove? No. Stavo lutando, esatto. E non vi ho fatto vedere, aspettate. Venite con me, venite con me. Non lo so che cazzo c'è lì. Fatture, garanzie, documenti a quanto pare. Le mie lauree, queste sono le lauree, ragazzi. E questi due li ho messi a posto. Sono una causa persa. Quelle sono le lauree, giuro, guarda. Guarda. Questa è una. Questa è l'altra. Non si legge, ma vi giuro che sono le lauree. Prese. Armadio. Tanto che cazzo me ne faccio? Faccio i video su internet mentre gioco e rido delle povertà altrui. Come si fanno a tenere così? Ma che cazzo me ne frega di incorniciarle? Ma chi ne vede? Io. Torno subito, ragazzi, mi prendo da bere.
The jury? Okay. All right, you can be seated. You want to continue with your witness?
Yes, we'll resume with the testimony of Raquel Pennington, Your
All
Honor.
right, thank you.
I want to talk about the events of May 21st,
Niente, ho aperto un rubinetto, è
2016.
uscito un gelato.
Do you remember that night, Ms. Pennington?
Yes.
Che mi sono perso?
Walk us through what you recall about the evening of May 21st, 2016.
La tipa arancione è tornata. Di bianco stavolta.
So, in PH5, I was getting things ready for a artist craft show that I had, and making jewelry, and my friend Liz was there, Josh was there, Amber was helping. We were set up in the downstairs living room of PH5.
Lei fa le perline. Tra le proprietà distrutte da Johnny Depp c'è un espositore delle sue opere di perline. Strano che proprio una sua cosa che poteva portare lei per fare casino sia andata distrutta, eh?
From Johnny that said that he wanted to come over and
Niente, Darkness.
talk or pick something up. I don't remember what the exact message was. And
Oh! Ma avete visto la clip di Amber di ieri che se ne va via e piange?
can't stop somebody from coming over to their own home. And so Amber went upstairs to get ready for him to come over. And eventually he showed up. I didn't see him show up.
Questa è lei ieri, dopo che l'hanno fatta andare via.
Next question.
Yeah, okay. I don't have any more questions, Your Honor.
All right,
We're done.
thank you. All right, ma'am, you can have a seat next to your attorney, okay?
Non si va a sedere, ma esce.
You can go and have a seat next to her. That's fine. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess then for 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay?
Ah ah! Ora piangi. Ora piangi. Ha proprio il doppio non è, cioè, non credo di fraintendere, ha proprio il mento ritirato, la faccia è proprio così. Sbaglio? Cioè, non lo penso solo io, vero? Perché ieri ho visto sta clip, mi sembra proprio che sia faccia da pianto, è proprio la faccia da pianto. E te credo che piangi dopo che t'hanno dilaniata.
Closer and closer, and
No, ride. Cazzo ride.
this, like big orange
Cazzo ridi.
ceramic ashtray on the coffee table, and I was thinking,
Vai Lollo.
if he gets any closer, I'm just gonna pick up that ashtray and like hit him with it because he was so close over us, and then at that point, Jerry and Sean came in from the front door of PH3 and came in, and they were like, boss, come on, let's get out of here.
Mai, Lollo.
And Jerry always called him boss. He's like, boss, come on, boss, let's go. And then Johnny grabbed like his leather bag off the stool that was by the island, and he had a big Magnum bottle of wine, and he was just like smashing stuff off the island and
Stronzi galattici comunque. Certo che sta testimoniando contro Johnny. Stronze galattiche comunque queste, usare il bodyguard morto. Tutte le volte che sentite dire Jerry era il capo della sicurezza che è mancato.
Sort of just waiting for it to pass and clear. Until a little bit later, and then I think Josh came in.
Why did you get between and put your hands on Mr. Depp and get between
cause naturali,
him and Miss Heard?
Ma pure io, nessuno. Ma pure io.
And
era presente.
When he hit your hands away and then you went and laid on her. Why did you do that?
It was the thing to do.
How would you describe Mr. Depp's mood?
Irate.
Irato.
Were you afraid that Mr. Depp was going to hurt Miss Heard?
Sì.
Yes.
And when he stood over you, you testified a little bit to it, but describe what he was yelling as he stood over the couch.
I don't remember everything that he said. The thing that sticks out the most.
Io non vedo l'ora che spero anch'io, Darkness.
Just yelling at her to get up. To get the fuck up.
Depp ha testimoniato già, non so se lo faranno risalire a giudizio, sicuramente richiameranno qualcuno, perché per esempio la psicologa, non mi ricordo se le hanno detto che era a posto così, non me lo ricordo.
Where were you, just to be clear, where were you when you
esattamente Lollo, esattamente, è quello il punto. È esattamente come dire, no, come? Ma no, io avevo 100.000 euro in contanti nel portafoglio, me li ha rubati tu Lollo, l'ha visto pure mio nonno, certo.
You weren't already in Penthouse 3 when you got that text?
No.
To the extent that there are allegations that you were lying in wait in Penthouse 3 before Johnny walked into that penthouse, how do you respond to those?
That is not true.
I will also represent to you, Miss Pennington, that Mr. Depp's lawyer
Dovrebbe, Oscar.
has been quoted as saying, quote, Amber Heard and her friend Rocky
Cosa,
Pennington
Alan?
staged the May 21 crime scene.
Comunque il verdetto può essere anche pronunciato prima e non devono per forza andare avanti fino al 27. Se hanno finito i testimoni prima del 27 devono dare il verdetto.
Did you stage anything
Alle 21, cioè sì, di solito alle 21, Crystal, ma visto che c'è questa roba qua, alle 23.
No.
Did
Solitamente alle 21.
Amber stage anything?
Assolutamente sì, Shiroda. Hai visto il mio gameplay di Inox di questa settimana, di ieri? O dell'altro ieri? Quando una cosa non va, cambia.
Mr. Depp cause to the penthouses, the penthouse 3.
In 3, stuff had been knocked off the kitchen counter. Stuff had been knocked off a bar cart.
By whom?
By Johnny. I saw this happen.
Va per Johnny, ma non l'hanno mica chiamata, non detto che vada, Darkness, non credo che vada. Che Mousepad usi uno della Corsair piccolo.
Can you remember Mr. Depp causing?
Morbido, normale, un mousepad normale.
Hallway, there was wine spilled.
Esatto,
wine
invece.
splash spilled in the hallway. There was a dent on the outside of PH1's door, front door. And then in PH5, where we had been getting stuff ready for my craft fair, my jewelry and materials had been thrown.
Lui c'ha i
against the
coglioni
wall,
tritati.
and everything that was on the table was
Ma non gioco competitive, Crystal, a parte gli scherzi.
strewn off of the table, thrown down.
Ho un torneo a fine mese, ma non sono uno che gioca competitive.
Some photographs of the incident that we talked about. So can you pull up May 21st, 2016, ALH 705?
Ma a Johnny Depp che cazzo gliene frega di versare le perline di statista, scusami. Ma poi che cazzo ci faceva in casa sua?
Either yourself or anyone else take photographs in the aftermath of this incident?
Yes.
Who took photographs?
Josh Drew. That's the only person that I can say for sure.
Were you with Mr. Drew when he was taking photographs?
I can't remember.
Ma niente di che per adesso, Iato.
Did you go through the penthouses to see where the damage has been done?
Ma il libro, ma io penso che lui voglia solo togliersi dai coglioni sta cosa. Che libro.
Eventually.
Miss Pennington, what is this a picture of, if you know?
This is a picture of the living room in PH5 with the back corner of the sofa. It has the beads that I had been working on and the stand that I used to display them thrown to the wall. Some of the beads are on the windowsill. The stand is broken.
And did you, does this fairly and accurately reflect damage that you saw to Penthouse 5 on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Exhibit 30 is up.
What is this a picture of, if you know?
This is a picture of the Johnny and Amber's bedroom bed in PH3.
Non tornerà mai, Lollo.
Photos, framed photos, stacked on it.
Ma perché dovrebbe aver voluto fare dei danni così Johnny Depp? Cioè, ma perché? Perché? Non capisco il motivo.
In your experience, did those photos normally sit on the bed?
No.
Does this, did you witness, well, was this part of the aftermath of what Mr. Depp did in Penthouse 3?
I didn't see him take these down, but they were not down.
È esattamente come dice Slowhand.
Does it fairly and accurately depict what you witnessed the night of May 21st, 2016?
I didn't see this happen, but I did see this.
È difficilissimo,
Scenario.
Crystal, è difficilissimo.
You
Non vedo
you
perché no.
saw
Finora non vedo
pictures.
perché no.
That's my question. Does this fairly and accurately depict something that you personally saw on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
All right, let's pull up 7053, please. So my question, Ms. Pennington, will be, what is this a picture of?
Non hai capito il motivo? Johnny Depp cita in causa Amber Heard per diffamazione per un articolo che ha scritto in un giornale dipingendolo come un abuser, dopo il quale la carriera di Depp è andata a puttane. Dici, Slowhand? Dici che conterà?
It's the landing of one of the staircases.
And what do you see on the picture?
It's broken glass.
A parte quello, Storm.
Spilled on the landing of one of the staircases. I can't tell if it's P3 or P5.
Esattamente quello il problema,
Does
Crystal.
this picture fairly and accurately depict something that you observed on the night of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Did you ever know Miss Heard to smash glasses on staircases?
No.
Did you find that question vague and ambiguous, Ms. Pennington?
No.
Exhibit 32 is up.
Ma che cos'è sta... Cioè, che...
What is this a picture of, Ms. Pennington?
Ma la storia della cacca adesso dei quadri?
Stairs appearing of the same staircase.
Il processo fa leva sul fatto che Johnny Depp abusava veramente o no. Se Johnny riesce a dimostrare che tutto quello che ha detto lei sono cazzate, di conseguenza l'articolo è diffamatorio, sono calunnie e quindi vince il processo. Se invece lei riesce a dimostrare che invece Johnny ha abusato di lei in qualsiasi modo, allora perde la causa. Quindi qua sono messi in scena da parte di Amber e i suoi amici per dire: oh mio Dio, Johnny è un uomo cattivo e pericoloso.
Floor mat.
Tra l'altro salto un
The
pezzo.
evening of May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
And who broke this glass?
Johnny did.
And does this photo fairly and accurately depict something that you observed after Mr. Depp left Penthouse 3 on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Exhibit 34 is up.
Eh no, perché potrebbe essere che lui li
what is
perde
this a
dal
picture
2,
of,
ma
Miss
ne
Pennington?
parlavano già da prima, l'ho capito.
This is the space between.
Ma infatti, Slowhand, cioè la gravità delle prove tra uno e l'altro non ha paragoni. Cioè, guarda, dimmi se con te se un cestino di pere rovesciato è una prova.
And do you know who knocked that fruit on the ground?
Yes.
Ma immagina se è una prova un cestino di pere rovesciato.
And does this fairly and accurately depict damage that you saw on May 21st,
A tutti
2016?
piacciono, Serge.
Yes.
Ma 100% se li stanno inventando, sono tutte cose fabbricate da loro.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
Oh, delle carte rovesciate.
This is the landing of PH5 that Amber's office was set up on. And this is
Ma
her
poi
desk
il
and her
dettaglio con cui
files.
sta gente descrive la casa di Johnny Depp, ma vi pare?
Boxes have been outturned and there's papers all over
Ma
the
se io
floor.
vedessi un pezzo di casa mia ci metterei un attimo a capire che pezzo è.
And is this how Miss Heard normally kept her office area?
No.
Does this fairly and accurately depict damage that you observed on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
36 is up.
Probabile, Buzzo.
Is this that same office area?
Ma zio,
Yes.
A me lo dici.
And is this an accurate depiction of what you observed on May 21st?
C'è pure il
2016?
Dutch angle su questa foto.
Yes.
37 is up.
Oggi sparano cazzate, Simo, poi la purgano. A posto. Ah, no, è spaccata al vetro.
What is this a picture of, Miss Pennington?
This is a picture of 2 photos on the column, the staircase.
Secondo me non ha degli avvocati comprati su Wish. Il problema è che non hanno un cazzo da... Cioè, che cosa possono fare sti poveri avvocati? Pensaci.
Savannah, Whitney, Io, myself, Amber, Aaron.
Ma anche oggi si è sentito Trafalgar, anche oggi si è sentito.
We were in London. The glass is smashed. The bottom photo is a photo of Amber and me in France.
È stato un assolutamente.
Does this photo fairly and accurately depict damage that you observed on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
38 is up.
Una bottiglia appoggiata con cautela sul suolo, incredibile, signori.
What is this a picture of?
Picture of a large bottle of wine on the floor.
On May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Is this the bottle he was swinging, if you know?
I don't know.
But it accurately depicts something you observed on May 21st, 2016.
Yes.
Did you notice you or Miss Heard or anyone that you were with spilling wine in penthouses that night in order to stage damage?
Ah, già, vi devo chiarire una roba. Praticamente, al 21 maggio del 2015, quello che sono arrivati i poliziotti per ispezionare tutto quanto, perché c'è stato un richiamo per violenza domestica e la casa era tutta ok. Loro hanno messo tutto a puttane e hanno richiamato una seconda volta i poliziotti, stavolta era tutto incasinato.
Do you know what penthouse that is in?
Can you zoom out again, please?
Ah, zooma lei.
3. Can you zoom out?
Puoi zoomare per favore?
Three.
3. Penthouse 3. Evidente.
Do you
Evidente.
Do you know who knocked
Palese.
this picture on the floor?
I didn't see it knocked down.
Did
Ma infatti, Magne. E l'ispettore Marupon.
Floor. Oh,
Non...
it's a picture on the floor.
È una foto di un pavimento,
do you know what penthouse that is?
Che
in?
penthouse è?
Can you zoom out again,
Poi-
please?
Ah! Ah!
3.
Do you and while he's doing that, did you I know we talked about pictures of
Come fosse un
damage
puzzle,
to the
cioè.
penthouses. Did you take pictures of Miss Heard that evening?
Tra l'altro pagherei per sapere che cosa c'è sotto il quadratone nero.
I don't remember if it was me or Josh.
Were you present when pictures were taken of Miss Heard on May 21st, 2016?
Yes.
Does this picture fairly and accurately
Ma questi si
reflect
prendevano a schiaffi da sole, ma per forza,
observations
dai.
you made of Miss Heard on May 21st, 2016?
Questo è uno schiaffo, palese.
Yes.
42 is up.
What is this picture, Miss Pennington?
This is Amber's face. It's red.
Lo andiamo a prendere, Crazy?
The right.
Ma sì, ma questi sono dati 2 schiaffi a vicenda per farsi le guance rosse e sono fatte la foto, ma dai. Cioè, qua lei sta dicendo che lui l'ha presa a pugni in faccia.
Fairly and accurately
No, io sono qui, non posso venire, devi andare da solo, Crazy. Ma sappi che non ha gli anelli dell'ottica. Inizia a chiedergli già in anticipo quello. Chiamalo e digli di metterti da parte gli anelli da 34 e l'ottica.
7083, please. What is this picture of?
This is Amber's face turned at a slight profile. Her eye is red and bruised. The side, the side brow, temple, and cheekbone.
Does this fairly and
Ma al di là di
accurately
quello, ma tu hai presente del danno che avrebbe per un pugno diretto sullo zigomo? Cioè, ma questa va per terra e muore. Come chiunque, cioè, pure io mi piglio un pugno vado giù.
Yes.
And
Sì, è la
were you
difesa.
present when police arrived?
Yes.
Were there 2 sets of police officers?
Yes.
And what penthouse did they come in?
Penthouse 3 both times.
How close were you to the police officer?
In the same room.
Okay. Could you see damage that he had caused?
Rocky
while you were
Pennington, amica
standing
di
there when
Amber.
the police officers were present?
Yes.
Did you ever hear Miss Heard
Tra l'altro,
say,
hanno interrogato
express
anche
any
l'ex agente di
financial
Amber che la odiava a
motivations for
morte.
wanting to remain in this relationship with Mr.
Tierno,
Depp?
ormai
No.
Johnny sta invadendo un altro server.
Did Miss Heard ever express that if she went public against with what happened on May 21st, 2016, that she stood to gain financially from doing so?
No.
Allora, Johnny Depp è un uomo di 55-60 anni. Mio papà è un uomo di 55-60 anni. Se mi tira uno schiaffo, penso che io vado all'ospedale. Camille è a destra di Depp. Sinistra di Depp.
Now, at some point after May 21st, 2016,
I cazzi suoi si fa.
Miss
Mio
Heard
papà è del 63.
filed for divorce from Mr. Depp, right?
Correct.
And at some point she filed for a domestic violence restraining order against him. Is that right?
Esatto, scimmia. Esatto.
Yes.
Ragazza col vestito arancione è in
And
bianco oggi.
I'm gonna come back to that line of questioning in a second, but before I forget,
Comunque stampa un
you
botto più
mentioned
veloce
Jerry
con
and
sti
Sean
settings.
Depp
Porca
on the night of
miseria.
the 21st, right?
Bomba.
Was there a space in the the floor of the ECB where they would wait for Mr. Depp when he was in one of the penthouses?
Yes.
And what was that space?
We called it the guard shack, and it was a vestibule separate from the penthouse.
Elden Ring.
Except that a door from the vestibule also connected to the door of the patio of PH5.
Was the okay? Was it if someone were in the vestibule or the guard shack, as you called it, would they have seen you?
Tutti a scommettere
go
sulle
into
abitudini
penthouse
videoludiche di
when
John.
Amber
Ha vinto.
requested you to do something?
Ride perché ha vinto.
No.
Did you see Jerry or Sean or any security guards when you entered penthouse 3 that evening?
No.
Okay. Going back to the domestic violence restraining order, did you accompany Miss Heard to court when she got that order?
Yes.
I'd like you to pull up, please, May 2016, Court, Pennington, 1292, please. And while he's doing that, do you know if Miss Heard wore any makeup that morning?
I don't remember seeing her put on any makeup.
Was that rare for Miss Heard not to wear makeup?
Yes.
What is this a picture of?
This is Amber and Jody, her publicist, sitting on the bench in the hallway waiting room of the courthouse.
Quindi lei è la pubblicitaria di Amber il giorno che qualcuno ha avvisato TMZ, ma non è stata Amber. Direi che la distanza... Curioso comunque che ci fosse la pubblicitaria di Amber il giorno che ha chiesto l'ordine restrittivo. Ora che ci penso, perché era lì la pubblicitaria di Amber?
On her cheek bone, right cheekbone is bruised.
Martire, Gesù Cristo in croce.
And how long after May 21st was this, approximately?
I don't know. I don't remember.
A matter of days, weeks?
Non ci credo, io non dense.
Did you ever see any makeup artist paint on this bruise? Put a fake bruise on Miss Heard's face?
No.
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 Can you please pull up Pennington 1295, please? And before we do, does this picture fairly and accurately depict Miss Heard's condition the morning or the day she applied for the domestic violence restraining order?
Yes.
Do you know whether you took this picture?
To the best of my recollection, I took that.
And I'm going to ask you the same thing about
Possibile,
this
Sergio.
picture 1295.
Un povero seduto al suo fianco.
To the best of my
Che
recollection.
stronza epocale.
And does that fairly and accurately depict Miss Heard's condition on that morning?
Yes.
Che stronza epocale.
26 is up.
Dai, è quasi finito. Un photoshoot hanno fatto quel giorno. Un photoshoot hanno fatto. Pass.
What is that a picture of?
It is Amber at a slate profile in the same courthouse room. Her hair's behind her ear. You can see a picture.
Non lo so, ma io non ho
of
l'abbonamento
her
annuale, ho
chin.
fatto l'abbonamento permanent,
She
cazzo.
looks like a skeleton.
Sembra uno scheletro. E senza
Did you take
trucco,
this picture?
vostro onore.
Yes.
Based on your personal knowledge, is there any truth to the allegation that Amber did this because she's, quote, a gold digger?
No.
No. Infatti 7 milioni li ha donati tutti.
You came to understand at some point, at some point, did you learn that Mr. Depp had lost the tip of his finger in Australia?
Yes.
And what is that other way?
Ma non è un santo in cosa perché abusa di droghe. Ma cosa c'entra con la
He
violenza?
showed it to me.
In addition to showing you, how did you learn from Mr. Depp that he had cut off the tip of his own finger?
And here with broke dudes.
He told me.
Non è una gold digger, dopo è andata solo con Elon Musk.
What did he
No.
tell you?
È amore.
He said,
È
I
scimmia.
don't remember how he said he cut the tip of his finger off, but while the nurse was dressing it, I wanted to see it. I also had a very small injury on the tip of my finger. And I continue to see it throughout its healing process, but I don't remember how he told me
Quello è vero,
how
Mac.
he cut it off.
But you remember that he told you that he cut it off.
Yes.
Ms. Pennington, I'll finish where we started, which is you've given a number of you've testified a number of times about the events that we talked about today, and I really appreciate you
Grazie,
you
grazie.
being here today and talking about these. I know it was tough and it was emotional at times. Is there anything that you would change about any of the testimony that you've given today or previously about any of these events?
No.
And you've done your best every time you
L'evasion, vero,
testified
Sergio?
about this to tell the full truth about everything that you know, everything that you saw, everything that you heard, everything that you've observed, right?
Ma che domanda è?
I have done the very best to tell
Piange
the
mentre
absolute
dice.
truth exactly as I remember it at all of the points of time.
All right. Yes, sir. Your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. That concludes the testimony of Raquel Pennington. Ms. Hurd calls Joshua Drew as her next witness.
Okay.
And if we may approach just to discuss a
All
couple
right.
exhibits.
And that's by deposition, is that correct?
It is by deposition,
All right.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Quindi un altro testimone video da cui non possiamo fare controdomande. Perché voi lo sapete, vero, che se questa gente qua sale su quel coso, Camille se li mangia crudi, vero? Questa è la musica che sente Amber quando vede Camille. Quando saliva ieri sul... saliva sul palco ieri. C'è Camille e Ben. The only thing they fear. Objection. Stava col Tesla Boy, Amber. Rape hearsay. Un attimo. Aspetta, ce l'ho. Check. Check.
Do you recall, Miss Amber? Let me refresh your recollection.
Che cazzo di pagliacciata. Camille Vasquez, the Doomslayer. That was not my question. Miss Amber, my questions. Aquaman! Aquaman! La bellezza di Elon risiede nel portafoglio. Did you edit this photograph, Miss Amber? Già discutono, obiezione, vostro onore. Potrebbero richiamarla, yes. E anche Johnny, sono ancora tutti richiamabili. Ma anche penso che l'abbia... Cioè, che cazzo deve dire ancora? La divelta. Speriamo. Vuoi vedere ancora del sangue, vedo. L'avvocatessa di lei ha preso distanza, esatto.
I want to play a trial. A fair trial.
Pledge and donation, I use them synonymously, but I do not, bitch. I do not, misheard. Ma veramente sta storia, Slow? Prima vai meglio è, Crazy. Se puoi prendi quello più spesso del mio. Ma è la voce di Rage Shadow, canzone sottofondo, la sigla, la colonna sonora di Doom. La divinata Amber. Misure. Il mio è quello più economico che c'è, ce n'è uno che costa un pelo di più, ma è chiaramente più profondo e ci stanno i fucili per dritto. Quello che ho io va bene tipo per le doppiette, ma non per i fucili con l'ottica sopra. Olè. Vediamo chi è il prossimo. Vediamo il ceto sociale e l'apparenza del prossimo testimone. Disegna, secondo me. Onesto, disegna. Lollo, assolutamente. E oggi è pur noioso.
Are we ready? Not quite? Okay.
Yes,
Appena lo vediamo, stop e facciamo l'analisi.
Misheard calls Joshua Drew. as I
Thank you.
mentioned. Thank you.
Ma questo è quello di... Questo è Nick Offerman.
Los Angeles. What is your occupation? I run my own hospitality development consulting firm. Are you also a chef? Not anymore. What, if any, education have you had since high school? I have my associates.
I run my hospitality development firm. Hospitality development... Ma che cazzo è? Airbnb.
Of science in culinary arts. And from what institution? Johnson & Wales University. Did you receive a degree from there? I did. In what year? That would have been 2003. Who is Raquel Rose Pennington? My ex-wife.
Oh, ex
Because I want to be
moglie.
respectful, how should I refer to her? Ms. Pennington, Rocky, or Raquel? Rocky or Raquel is perfectly fine. Okay. You were married to Rocky, so there came a time when you began to date Rocky, correct? Correct. When did you start dating Rocky? That would have been June of 2014. And did there come a time when you became engaged to Rocky? Correct. When was that? That would have been in summer
L'uomo che
of
usciva la gente.
2015. Yeah, I believe. Do you recall when you were divorced from Rocky? Officially September 24th of last year. We separated officially October of the previous year. When did you first meet Amber Heard?
Questo è Benjamin, vero, che fa le domande.
4 weeks after Raquel and I had started dating, very early on. When did you first meet Johnny Depp? Shortly after I met Amber. I want to say, if memory serves, about 5 or 6 weeks after Raquel and I started dating.
Questo è l'ex marito di quella che ha parlato prima.
Under what circumstances you met him?
Funny enough, I actually do very clearly.
Funny enough.
I had come over under the auspice of what was called Family Movie Night, and it was Amber and Johnny and Jack. I honestly don't remember whether Lily Rose was there. She might have come later at a certain point. And it was just us in their apartment eating burgers and watching movies.
Since that time, on how many occasions have you seen and interacted with Johnny Depp from that very first time on movie?
Ma i sottotitoli che cazzo hanno detto?
I couldn't even speculate the number of. It's not that it was infrequent.
Secondo me è Benjamin che sta facendo le domande.
And honestly, for a large portion of it, fairly casual. Not the kind of thing where you would just.
Adesso gli sta facendo vedere NSFV su Discord.
Interactions over various periods of time.
Well, your counsel is not going to let you speculate.
NSFV.
But I'm going to ask you to get a range. Is it more than 10 times?
Yes.
More than 50 times?
Yes.
From the time that you first met Mr. Depp on movie night until this very moment sitting here
È lui,
today,
sono sicuro, quello che parla è lui.
Mr. Depp strike Amber Heard?
No.
Have you ever seen him throw a telephone at her?
No.
Have you ever seen him hit her with a fist?
No.
Have you ever
Veramente.
lived at a building located at 849 South Broadway in Los Angeles known as the Eastern Columbia Building?
Correct.
Did you live in the condo known as Penthouse 1?
Correct.
With whom did you live in Penthouse 1?
Raquel Pennington.
From when to when did you live in Penthouse 1 with Rocky Pennington?
Again, my memory is a little bit foggy of exact dates.
Questo mi sta ispirando molta più fiducia, voglio capire cosa dice.
So while I was a
Botta
frequent
risposta,
guest,
boom, boom,
I
boom.
didn't actually live there until I want to say about October or November of 2015.
Was Rocky already living in Penthouse 1 when you started visiting and ultimately moved in there?
Yes.
Questi sono i testimoni della Heard, ma voglio capire perché l'hanno portato dentro.
June of 2014.
I couldn't tell you with any specificity, but I believe it's around that time frame.
Who owned Penthouse 1 at the time?
Johnny Depp.
While you and Rocky lived together in Penthouse 1, did you
Oh, mi sta
she
svegliando
have
finalmente questo, però
allowed you
almeno.
access to all of the penthouses on that floor?
Everything except PH2, yes.
At the time, did Mr. Depp
È una deposizione di questo processo. Va avanti da mo'.
Sporadically, yes.
The key to which you and Rocky had access allowed either of you to enter PH3, correct?
Correct.
Who was in PH5 at the time?
Nobody. Nobody lived in PH5 for the entirety of our time there.
Did you or Rocky ever pay
Preparato o
Mr.
no,
Depp
mi sembra
any rent to
più
live in
sicuro.
PH1?
Offered and refused.
Did you consider the
Non lo so,
refusal
sai, sei
of your
preparato.
offer to be a generous gesture by Mr. Depp?
Exceedingly.
In your experience, is Mr. Depp generally generous to his friends?
Yes.
Is he generous to people generally?
Yes.
Did Mr. Depp own Penthouse 5?
Yes.
Would your key have opened Penthouse 5?
Yes.
When you and Rocky were living here in Penthouse 1, did you ever notice that there were security personnel standing outside the door of Penthouse 3 when Mr. Depp was in Penthouse 3?
Not normally, no.
Did you ever see the security personnel standing outside of his door?
On very rare occasion. Normally they were in a storage room off to the side of PH5.
Moving aside
Questo è
from
preciso.
Mr. Bett and Mr. Judge, while you
Jerry
stayed
Judge, quello che è morto.
at the East Columbia building, did you come to know any of the employees of the building?
Casually.
Who is Trinity Esparza?
She was one of the front desk people.
Did you have communications with her?
In the course of living there, yes.
Did you find her to be pleasant?
No.
Esatto, Storm.
How was she unpleasant?
She was not particularly polite. or accommodating to me or Raquel or any of Amber's friends. I wasn't there specifically, but I heard similar things from Amber and her interactions with her.
Hearsay, objection.
Over the course of our time there.
While you lived in Penthouse 1, did you have the opportunity to interact often with Amber Heard?
Yes.
Ok.
Did you and Rocky see Miss Heard frequently?
Yes.
Ok.
Did you ever see her drinking alcohol?
Yes.
Ok.
Did you ever see her drink to excess?
Yes.
Ok.
Did you observe Amber Heard during her wedding to Mr. Depp at the Bahamas?
Yes.
Ok.
Was she intoxicated at any time during the wedding weekend?
Yes.
Hai la mia attenzione?
As were we all.
Did you ever hear at any time Amber Heard yell at Mr. Depp?
Yes.
Ok, allora ragazzi, no, questo è Ben. Questo sta dando risposte a martello e attenzione perché sì, è vero, ha detto mi hanno riferito che, ma ci ha tenuto a specificare. Non ero lì, me lo hanno riferito. Attenzione, guarda che queste sono questo martella, cazzo. Questo è l'ex di Rocky Pennington. L'ha portato Amber e ora lo sta controinterrogando Ben. Ma questo sta martellando. Non sono palesemente guidate. Gliele sta facendo l'accusa. Gliele sta facendo l'accusa, non è il suo avvocato.
On how many occasions?
I couldn't tell you the number of occasions.
Did you ever see her
Corretto.
strike Mr. Depp?
No.
Non l'ha mai visto picchiare.
Did you and Rocky ever discuss the relationship between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp?
Yes.
Ok.
On how many occasions?
Honestly, probably hundreds, if not thousands.
Mr. Drew, moving to April 21, 2016, do you recall that there was to have been a birthday celebration that night?
Yes.
Was that Amber Heard's birthday?
Yes.
Do you recall which birthday it was for her, how old she was?
It was her 30th. I catered it.
What do you recall about that evening?
I recall it was held in PH5.
Dritto al punto, mi piace.
Johnny was hours late. And Amber spent the better part of the evening making excuses for him. And he came very obviously intoxicated.
Ok.
And put on a show for everybody. And when the party was over, or we left, cleaned up, and the next morning we heard about what had transpired after the fact.
So Johnny was supposed to have attended the dinner, correct?
Correct.
And at what time did the dinner begin?
I don't recall.
You and Rocky were guests at the dinner?
Correct.
Who else was invited to the dinner?
Again, you'll have to forgive me, it was quite some time ago. I remember
È onesto questo secondo me.
being there, Amber's friend Iggy, a rabbi. I want to say that Whitney was there as well. To be very honest, I can't say with specificity whom else was there.
When you say Whitney, are you referring to Whitney Heard?
Correct.
Is Whitney Heard Amber? You say...
To be very honest, I can't say with specificity whom else was there.
Devo essere onesto, non riesco a dire in maniera specifica chi fosse precisamente lì quella sera. Guardate la faccia che fa lei quando si accorge che lui non ha l'informazione che le sarebbe servita.
When you say Whitney, are you referring to Whitney Heard?
Correct.
Is Whitney Heard Amber's younger sister?
Correct.
Putting aside the state or condition in which Johnny arrived, do you recall sitting here today approximately when Johnny arrived for dinner?
I really couldn't tell you with any specificity, but I can say it was quite a few hours after the party had started.
Ok.
Did he provide any excuse or explanation to the group as to why he was late?
No.
Putting aside Mr. Depp's intake of alcohol that evening, had Miss Heard been drinking before Mr. Depp arrived?
Yes.
Do you know how much?
Couldn't tell you.
Did she seem intoxicated at any time during the evening?
Yes.
Did you see Amber Heard the next morning, April 22nd, 2016?
I believe so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice any marks on her face or elsewhere that morning?
I don't recall.
Ok.
That morning, April 22nd, did you and Miss Pennington and Amber Heard drive together to Coachella?
They did, I did not.
Lui non è andato con loro.
With Amber Heard.
Sporadically, yes.
And just to be clear,
Quando, Anna?
and I'm sorry to jump around, when you say strike that, are you say sporadically? How frequently you're in contact with her?
We didn't speak for about 2 years following my divorce. And
Okay.
she reached out to me to make amends about, I want to
Sono
say about 2
d'accordo,
months
Anna.
ago, if memory serves.
I'm going to come back to that. When you said
Anche perché è l'ex marito, non credo che abbia tanti motivi di aiutarle. Non capisco perché l'abbiano chiamato.
22nd, is that because you didn't see any marks on Miss Heard, or you didn't see her at all that morning?
I honestly don't recall the state of her the next morning. If memory serves, it was, but that the girls were hustling to get everything together to go out to Coachella.
Obiezione.
So it was a pretty frantic morning. I couldn't say with any specificity whether I interacted with her that morning before they departed.
And Mr. Drew, you said
Ma c'è il video di lei che va da Coachella che sta come una Pasqua, che guida la Mustang.
When did she reach out to you?
Sometime in the last 2 months.
Grazie, Anna.
What did she say when she reached out to you?
To paraphrase, it was something akin to letting me know that, you know, her and Raquel hadn't spoken in some time, and to tell me that she loved me and that she missed me, and she just wanted to make amends and, you know, reconnect.
Did she mention anything about this lawsuit?
Not in the initial interaction.
No,
How did you
questo
respond to
è
her in
onesto,
this
mi
initial
piace.
interaction when she said she wanted to make amends?
I didn't for some time. I think I waited about a week and a half before I responded, and before I could, I did get a note from her letting me know that she had tried to keep me out of it, but more than likely people were going to be contacting me either about being deposed or a statement of some kind. There was nothing explicit about whom it would be coming from, whether it was from Johnny's side or from her side, only that somebody would more than likely be reaching out to me.
Allora, mi piace un sacco l'andazzo di questo e si nota una differenza sostanziale rispetto ai due testimoni di prima. Quelli di prima inventavano. Quelli di prima pescavano dal cappello. Questo fatti alla mano, cazzo. Mi piace come risponde, mi piace come chiarisce quando non è sicuro della risposta. Finora mi piace un sacco. L'ha chiamato lei, ma ho l'impressione che l'abbia chiamato lei per non farlo chiamare dagli altri. Però questo martella, cazzo.
And when you had a glass of wine, again, only lawyers remember these things, but do you recall approximately when you had a glass of wine with her?
Probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago. No, I'm sorry, it would be longer than that. Probably about 2 months ago.
Mr. Drew, let's please change subjects and move to the evening of May 21, 2016, which you had.
Chissà quanto cazzo devono pagare gli avvocati che sono 2 anni che sono a far sta roba.
Was Mr. Depp at the condo at the East Columbia building that day prior to the evening?
Not to my knowledge.
Non c'era,
Did you
ok.
see him arriving at the condo that night?
No.
Did you see Mr. Bett and Mr. Judge that evening?
Yes.
When did you first see them?
I saw them when he ordered them to open the door to PH5 following the incident.
When you say he, to whom are you referring?
Johnny.
Did you ever see them that night somewhere outside the door of PH3?
No.
Do you know whether she received a text from Amber Heard at 8:06 p.m.?
I can't certify the time, but the text message itself and the receipt, yes.
Were you with Rocky when she received that text?
Yes.
Wasn't she already
Non lo so,
in
diavolo.
Penthouse 3 as of 8:06
Può essere. Tu dici che lui è il
When she
traditore
received the
che
text, she was not in
aspettavamo?
Penthouse 3. She was in Penthouse 5 with me. But again, I can't recall with specificity the exact time of these events.
Secondo me non sta inventando un cazzo, ragazzi. La prontezza con cui risponde con sicurezza non si è preparato per me. Per me questo è onesto e basta.
Time, including that night,
L'ex marito
did you
dell'amica
ever
di
see
Amber.
Mr. Depp strike Rocky Pennington.
No.
That evening,
È
did you
risoluto.
see Mr. Depp smash bottles of wine?
No.
Did you see him break furniture?
No.
Did you see him kick a hole through a solid door?
No.
Do you
No,
recall
non ho visto niente.
when Mr. Depp,
Anche lui
Mr.
scroccone,
Depp
ma
and
onesto,
Mr.
mi sembra.
Judge left the building that night?
If we're starting, if we're presuming that that text was received from Raquel at 8:06, they had
Esatto,
left the
scimmia.
building within 30 minutes, to my recollection.
Non sarebbe il primo di
So it would be
di questa partita,
approximately
Crazy.
sometime around 8:30, 8:29.
Thereabouts, but I don't recall specifically.
Questa testimonianza sta annullando quella che abbiamo appena visto, ma l'ha portata Amber, cioè non capisco quello.
What else do you remember about the events of the evening of May 21?
Ve lo giuro che l'ha portato quello di
I
Amber.
can tell you contemporaneously from the start if there's something specific you'd like me to expound on.
Who is Officer Melissa Science?
My understanding, it was the name of the Latina officer that first responded with her partner.
My understanding. Questo qua è precisissimo nelle risposte. L.A. Noir, lo giochiamo, va
When
bene?
did she arrive at the scene, if you recall?
Se è figo lo giochiamo.
Vaguely, I remember them arriving about 45 minutes to an hour after Johnny had left. But again, exact times I'm a little foggy.
Going back to the Latina officer, was there another officer with her?
Yes, there was a bald gentleman, white.
With which
Bald gentleman,
officer,
white.
if any, did you speak that night?
Both.
What do you say
Ce l'ho, Vier.
to them, if you recall?
When they arrived, I greeted them at the door. I walked them through PH3 to show them the damage, show them the broken glass. They had already walked through the hallway over the gigantic
Giocheremo in
wine
VR,
stand
allora.
throughout the entire hallway. I took them through PH3, like I said, to show them the damage. I
Giuria
took
di
them back out of
Grisham.
the hallway, showed them the dent in the door shaped like the bottom of a wine bottle in PH1. Took them into PH5 to see
Non in VR meglio, ok.
broken picture frames, smashed glass, Raquel's jewelry and things like that strewn about the apartment. And then I brought them back to PH3, at which point they separated. The Latino officer pulled Amber aside specifically to speak to her one-on-one. The door was closed. I was outside with the other officer. So I can't say with any specificity what happened inside. I don't know whether anybody was in earshot. I don't know whether everybody else was around. They told me specifically it was one-on-one. And I was outside the door with the male officer. And specifically my communication with him was asking what, if anything, could be done, because we were obviously upset. And his comment to me specifically was, there's damage in these apartments. Her face is red. If she wants to file a report, we have enough here to go pick him up.
Adesso ho capito perché l'hanno preso. Adesso ho capito perché l'hanno preso. L'unica cosa che mi lascia perplesso è che questa non è la testimonianza dei poliziotti. Ciao Diego. Cioè, i poliziotti hanno detto il contrario, però è molto preciso. Era giusto, è vero che la poliziotta è entrata dentro con... cioè, ora sono confuso.
But you've never seen Johnny hit Amber.
That's correct. And I've affirmed it to everybody that I've spoken to. I've been explicit about that.
And you've never seen Johnny hit any woman.
Correct.
Do you recall having a conversation with...
Oggi stiamo vedendo delle deposizioni video che non sono in diretta, Diego, e sto cercando di capire che cosa tiriamo fuori. Per adesso nulla, ma forse questo ha qualcosa da dire di importante.
Rocky and Amber after Mr. Depp and his security personnel left the building, but before Officer Science and Officer Haddon arrived.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
You'll have to forgive me again. My memory of the exact sequence of events, that transpired after all this is a little foggy. If memory serves, Amber was damn near catatonic. After all this, we had gotten her into PH1 so we could deadbolt the door and keep her safe until he left. A few minutes thereafter, I had gotten a little bit of a rundown from Raquel over what had transpired. Raquel got her to call her lawyer, Samantha Spector, to find out what to do. And if memory serves, Samantha's recommendation was what to do. And if memory serves, Samantha's recommendation.
So Samantha knew this about me.
What to do.
So Samantha... Guardate, porca miseria, ho sbagliato, scusate.
No.
Did you see Ms. Heard at all that day?
No, ho perso il pezzo.
There being a red mark. You remember what?
The complaint that night? The moment.
No, ho perso il
Did
pezzo.
you see Ms. Heard and Amber after the building?
Memory of the exact. If after all this, we had gotten her into PH1 so we could deadbolt the door. A little bit of a rundown from Raquel over what had
Questo è quello che ho capito fino adesso. Fino adesso. Lui ha raccontato che sono arrivati i poliziotti, hanno ispezionato, hanno visto i danni e la faccia rossa di Amber, quindi hanno detto se sporgono denuncia abbiamo abbastanza robe per andarlo a prendere. Ma lui non ha mai visto né sentito Johnny picchiare né fare casino, niente. Finita questa roba qua, hanno messo Amber nella penthouse numero 1 e la sua ex moglie ha iniziato a fare una testa così su quello che era successo. Secondo me lo stava convincendo. E soprattutto questo penso che sia una svolta perché Rocky, quindi quella di prima, ha chiamato il suo avvocato e qua Johnny mi sembra che dica col labiale So Samantha knew this about me. Guardate il labiale. Samantha Spector. So Samantha knew this about me.
Recommendation was that we immediately put together a contemporaneous matter of fact statement together of what had transpired.
Ma lo dice ridendo come se ecco perché.
Amber as to what she wanted to do with the police or whatever it may be.
Are you aware that
lo dice con la faccia da ecco.
Officer Science and Officer Haddon that evening?
Yes.
Were you present when she was speaking?
Ride mentre dice queste cose, perché evidentemente adesso qualcosa ha senso, qualcosa che è successo in passato adesso ha senso. Perché ha detto, ecco, Samantha allora lo sapeva.
To them?
No.
Did Amber file the complaint that night?
Oh, però dice quello, di questo sono sicuro, Joele.
Mr. Depp?
No.
Did they issue a warrant for his arrest?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mr. Drew, let's turn for the moment to May 22nd, 2016. Did you see Ms. Heard at all that day?
Yes.
When did you see her?
At various points throughout the day.
Samantha è quella del divorzio. Samantha è l'avvocato divorzista.
A jewelry show somewhere, I want to say it was downtown, I might be mistaken, it might have been out in Venice, somewhere in Los Angeles. So she was out
Signori,
most of the day. So
abbiamo messo il puzzle a posto. Adesso si spiega.
If memory serves,
adesso torna.
Had a friend come over with a locksmith to change the locks, just to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there to make sure that that happened, and just, like I said, be there for Amber should she need anything, just so she wasn't alone.
When you saw Amber on May 22nd, you don't know whether it was the morning or the afternoon.
Cioè, lui ha appena detto, dopo che abbiamo messo Amber nella casa, mia moglie mi ha fatto una testa così raccontandomi quello che era successo e ha chiamato il suo avvocato per dirglielo. Lui si gira verso il suo avvocato e fa: quindi Samantha sapeva di questa cosa. Quindi Samantha gli avevano detto questo. Cioè, è come dire, ora ha senso. E siccome Anna mi dice che Samantha è l'avvocato divorzista di lei, ha senso che lui reagisca dicendo adesso si spiegano un paio di cose.
Is that right?
It was sporadic throughout the day. I think it was some point late morning and throughout the afternoon.
When you first saw her, did you notice any marks on her face?
Yes.
Describe the marks, please.
Ok, ha visto dei segni.
I don't actually remember which side of her face it was, but I do distinctly remember there being a red mark and a small bruise on her cheekbone, and red marks just above her eyebrow and to the right side, or to the side of her eyebrow.
Did you see any swelling?
A little bit.
Can you remember anything else?
Ok, è il primo che lo dice.
Anywhere else other than the ones you
È il primo
saw?
che lo dice.
No. Did you ever notice anyone visiting Amber Heard at night while Mr. Depp was away?
During the time that I was living there?
Yes.
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I wouldn't even be able to estimate.
Was it more than 10?
Yes.
Was it more than 20?
Yes.
Was it more than 30?
Yes.
Was it more than 50?
Again, I can't really speculate. I was there for quite some time.
When did that first occur?
I mean, I'm not privy to her comings and goings, and she had other friends than us that were coming to see her. So.
And again, to be specific, I'm just talking about visitors at night when Mr. Depp was away.
Ho capito, Anna.
Again, I can't say with any specificity.
When did that first happen that you were aware of?
I mean, I would say pretty early on, but again, there's no context to it. The other consideration that I would say is that the hallway between all of these penthouses was public right-of-way going to the pool. So my understanding of people coming and going, it might have been the public, it might have been residents, or I'm sorry, not public, it might have been residents in the building. I can't really say with any specificity.
È molto preciso questo qua. Questo è molto molto sicuro e preciso. Quindi abbiamo un ulteriore pezzo. Ci sono stati almeno 50 eventi in cui qualcuno è andato a casa di Amber senza che c'era Johnny.
Who was Elon Musk?
Elon Musk was a gentleman that Amber dated intermittently following the restraining order.
When did can you recognize Elon Musk?
Yes.
When did you first see Elon Musk at Penthouse 3?
I'm not quite clear exactly, but I want to say
a casa di Johnny Depp.
Weeks after the restraining order was filed.
A casa di Johnny Depp.
Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were still married, correct?
Yes.
After May 22nd,
mentre erano sposati.
Did you ever see any marks on Ms. Heard?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Would you please describe?
Ma è Nick Offerman, ragazzi, ma questo qua è Nick Offerman. Come cazzo l'ho scritto? Space 66666. Allora. Quindi persino Elon Musk è andato a bombarsi Amber a casa di Johnny mentre erano ancora sposati. Questo stiamo capendo adesso.
Can you remember what cleanup efforts were undertaken and by whom?
Well, myself. In Penthouse 3, there was a number of pieces of broken glass and items strewn about the counters and the floor in the kitchen. Only in the kitchen, sort of around the kitchen island. In the hallway outside of the penthouses was quite a bit of spilled wine. I don't believe we dealt with that at all.
Lui dovrebbe essere a favore di lei.
And in PH5, all of Raquel's things had been strewn about pretty dramatically, so we did our best to sort of put that back together.
Ma non lo so se sono cazzate, lui dovrebbe essere a favore di lei, la sta smontando.
Pack everything back up. And there were, things like piles of books and picture frames were broken, or piles of books were strewn about, and picture frames were broken and things like that. We just picked the glass up
Davvero, Anna?
so the dogs didn't get hurt, and I think we left everything else for the time being.
Did you actually see who strewn about? That's not the right verb. But did you actually see the person who threw her clothes around?
I didn't witness firsthand any destruction of any kind.
Caso chiuso? Caso chiuso, chat?
Threw her clothes around?
I didn't witness firsthand any destruction of any kind.
Are you aware?
Caso chiuso.
I didn't witness firsthand any destruction of any kind.
Quindi lui ha appena detto che è vero, ha visto la casa distrutta, ha visto Amber con le botte, ha visto tutte quelle cose, ma non ha mai visto in prima persona nessun tipo di distruzione in prima persona.
Are you aware that Miss Heard alleged?
E anche se Amber avesse avuto un segno sul volto, lo so che è brutto perché adesso sto entrando nella speculazione totale, sto andando nella speculazione totale, ma secondo voi, cioè voi non vi fareste tirare un pugno per 14 milioni? Dalla vostra amica, ovviamente.
That Mr. Depp hit her on or about December 15.
Yes.
What, if anything, do you know about that incident?
So my recollection of that is
Me lo può dare pure Tyson.
Raquel and I had come back to the penthouses.
Diego, vai a cagare,
from
che
where
per
I
14 euro non ti alzi dal
specifically
letto.
sometime, I want to say late afternoon, early evening. And Raquel was supposed to meet with Amber as soon as they came back. Amber had not been responding to her text messages for some time, so we let ourselves into PH3 together to go check on her and make sure everything was okay.
Ci sono anche le prove di
We
quello,
came
Last.
in, the kitchen was completely, I wouldn't say it's trash,
No,
but
sta
it was
guardando in
out
giù.
of order enough for something to be off. And then when we turned the
Ma si sta
corner
addormentando?
on the section of counter next to the kitchen sink, there was something written on the counter, and I don't know, I can't remember what material it was, and to be honest, I can't actually recall exactly what was written. It was something very, very weird, like all is such a fraud or something akin to that.
You never saw.
Lui sta dicendo di sì. Ha gli occhi chiusi per ricordare. Sta dicendo di sì. Quest'uomo sta dicendo la verità. Quest'uomo sta dicendo la verità, è palese, guardate.
Fraud or can't actually recall exactly what was written. It was something very, very weird, like.
Sta dicendo, sì, c'era scritto qualcosa sul balcone, ma non mi ricordo esattamente che cosa. Era qualcosa di strano, tipo sei una froda, sei una truffatrice. Guardate lui.
All is such a fraud or something akin to that.
You never saw Mr. Depp strike Amber Heard on or about December 15, 2015, correct?
Correct.
Did you see Miss Heard that night?
Yes.
Did you notice any bruising or other signs of injury?
Yes, pretty significant.
Ok.
What did you observe?
I noticed specifically she had pretty significant bruising on the inside of both eye sockets,
Okay.
kind of extending down the bridge of her nose, and her forehead was red.
But you have no first-hand knowledge of how that injury occurred.
That's correct.
Are you aware that she Amber Heard made a television appearance the next day?
Yes.
Do you ever see Mr. Depp take drugs, either prescription drugs or drugs that were not by prescription?
Yes.
How many times?
I can't speculate on the number of times, to
Chi è questa che parla adesso?
be honest.
There was some questioning before where people were asking you about emphasizing how many times. Is it fair to say more than 10 times?
Yes.
Non
Fair to
sembra
say more
lei.
than 20 times?
Yes. But to be very honest with you, he was also a very private person, and a lot of that behavior was done in private. I didn't witness a lot of it.
Did you ever hear Mr. Depp
Sì, è lei la vecchia.
yell at Ms. Heard?
Yes.
Can you tell me when you recall that and what happened?
I can't say with any specificity the number of times. There is one incident specifically that I do recall. Myself and Raquel were...
Minchia che sguardo da vipera che le è partito contro l'avvocatessa.
Specifically that I do recall. Myself and Raquel were vacationing in France with the two of them, and we were staying separately, separate houses, and the two of them were having a very, very loud argument with one another, screaming at each other that we could hear through the walls.
How long do you recall approximately that yelling lasted for?
I want to say...
Grazie, Blood. Comunque questo testimone mi piace, qualsiasi cosa abbia da dire mi piace, fossero stati tutti così. Questo mi piace, è uno dei primi che mi sembrano veramente onesti.
More than one?
Yes.
And when they were large?
È super onesto, super diretto, sa quello di cui sta parlando. Sa quello di cui sta parlando.
Los Angeles, California, which is the next page. And you'll see in paragraph 23, in case it refreshes your recollection, there's a specific reference to Rocky.
Questo è l'ex marito di quella che ha testimoniato prima.
Specifically, coming home, I want to say late afternoon, early evening, it was myself and Raquel. Melanie was not present. Amber had not been responding to Raquel for some time. They were supposed to hang out, the three of them. So we let ourselves into PH3 to check on her and make sure everything was okay. And we came inside. The kitchen and the dining table were a mess. Like the kitchen island area, things were strewn about outside of the norm. And there was something written on the counter adjacent to the kitchen sink, like I stated previously, something like, "All is such a fraud," or something in that vein. We realized something was off right away. Raquel told me to go back to our place and then booked it upstairs. I didn't hear from her for about 10, 15 minutes, which I was obviously concerned about.
The incident you just testified about, you talked about the kitchen being, with Mr. Chu, about the kitchen being a mess.
Ma non sta dicendo niente di male, cioè quello il discorso.
Correct.
Okay. So I think you testified that when you came and you saw some writing in the kitchen. I've showed you a document which is a photograph that we've marked as Drew 10. And
Why be a fraud?
That's what you were referring to earlier.
Yes.
And did you come to learn, Mr. Drew, who had written this language? Is this the kitchen, withdrawn, is this the kitchen counter?
It's the kitchen counter next to the kitchen sink.
And this is in the apartment of Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp?
PH3.
And did you come to learn who had written these words in...
La sostanza è adesso,
I'm sure there'll
Scrauserman.
be an objection to this response, but I knew it's his handwriting.
When you use the preposition his in that answer, you meant Mr. Depp?
Correct.
And why, and are you saying that you recognized at the time that it was his handwriting?
Correct.
And how were you able to recognize Mr. Depp's handwriting?
He has a very unique mode of penmanship.
And you had seen that mode of penmanship previously?
Many times.
Can you read what is written on the countertop in Drew 10?
Why be a fraud? All is such bullshit.
Is this Drew 10 an accurate photograph of what you recall seeing that day?
To my recollection, yes.
Was anything else written on the countertop?
Not that I remember.
When you saw these, when you came into the apartment and saw the mess in the kitchen and saw these words written on the countertop, were you concerned?
Immediately.
And what were you concerned about?
That something very, very bad had happened.
And that's in part because you assumed immediately that Mr. Depp had written these words?
Yes.
Can you read, you read into the record what it says. Just correct me if I'm wrong. That little kind of red thing there in the top right-hand corner of the photograph, do you recall, is that a lipstick? Part of a lipstick?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. At the time, did you have any idea of what this was written in? Do you recall?
Looking at it, I can answer. I don't recall from the time, so I'm going to say no.
And I take it, Mr. Drew, you didn't take this photograph?
No.
Do you know
Ma è vero che non stanno andando da nessuna parte, King, non è solo la mia percezione, non sta andando da nessuna
And when you say
parte.
you were concerned that something very bad had happened, what do you mean by that?
You walk into somebody's house and it looks like they vandalized it and things are amiss or things are strewn about. It doesn't portend anything good.
Ok, giusto.
Did you go anywhere else in Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurd's apartment other than the kitchen that day?
The living room later.
So, again, to the best of your
Ha scritto la verità e non ha manco cioè non è che c'è scritto t'ammazzo di botte, troia di merda. C'è scritto... sono tutte cazzate. Cioè...
Recollection, I understand it's a long time ago, and I understand these aren't exactly happy memories. But can you tell me chronologically what happened? Like you let yourself into the apartment, you saw this. Just tell me the story again, to the best of your recollection of what happened when.
How I remember it is that like I said, we came home late afternoon, early evening. Hadn't heard from Amber in some time, which was out of character for her. Let ourselves in to go check. Saw that written on the counter. Saw the kitchen a miss. Raquel looked at me and said specifically, go back to our place. I'm going to go check on her. Bolted upstairs. I was sitting over in PH1 in our apartment.
Quindi lui tutta questa scena l'ha trovata entrando in casa dove c'era solo Amber in casa. Cioè lui è entrato in casa, c'era solo Amber e tutto sto casino. Ok, vai avanti.
Waiting. And I heard from her. Again, I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was about 10 or 15 minutes later. I really don't remember what my response was. I don't remember what transpired after that. Other than there was some time that she was over there. I don't remember when or even if Melanie came over at any point during that evening.
What do you recall about that?
And I remember it specifically because she had pretty significant visible facial injuries and didn't know if she was going to be in a state to do it or didn't know whether she was even going to have the physical appearance to be able to do it.
Okay, when you say these things, first of all, she in those statements is Amber Heard, correct?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face that day?
Yes.
Do you have good vision?
I didn't have glasses and I didn't need them then, so yes.
So I'm handing you a document that was marked as through 11. You can see from the top page it was attached to Ms. Heard's affidavit. Declaration is Exhibit 13. And I want you to look at the photos of Ms. Heard's face and tell the jury, Mr. Drew, if those were consistent with what you observed on her face that day.
It is. I was with Raquel when she took the pictures.
And the pictures were taken on Raquel's iPhone or photo camera?
To my recollection, yes, they could have been taken on Amber's phone, so there wouldn't be any potential accusation of bias or anything like that.
And you described earlier to Mr. Chu that there was, as I recall, kind of color under both of her eyes.
Yes.
And I say her, I mean Ms. Heard. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photo, this one, I'm going to hold it up.
Yes.
Did you personally observe that day this injury on Ms. Heard's face
I
in December 2015?
I did.
And you said before you were there when Ms. Pennington was taking the photos?
Yes.
There's a couple more photos in there. It looks like there's a busted lip. You see those photos?
Yes.
You recall seeing that personally?
No.
Ms. Heard's face that day?
Honestly, I don't remember without looking at this photo, so I'm more comfortable saying I don't know.
Okay. Mr. Drew, were you there? Do you just to refresh your recollection? You were there when all of these photos were taken, or just the photos of the face?
I can't say definitively.
Okay. But there's some photos you were there for that are here.
Correct.
But at least some of the photos in Drew 11, you recall being there and personally observing Ms. Pennington take them.
Correct.
And are you aware of any efforts by Rocky or anyone else to manipulate the photos that were taken that day with Photoshop or any other method of changing a photograph?
If I had any knowledge of that or even suspected it, this would be a very different interview.
It's a deposition, but yes.
Or a very different deposition, whatever.
I'm going to turn now to the incident on April 21, 2016, in connection with Ms. Heard's birthday party. I guess it was her 30th birthday party. What I'd like, if you can, Mr. Drew, is for you to tell me in your own words.
Non ho capito. Lui sta dicendo che lei aveva i segni, ma non sa come se li... Non ho capito. No, ho capito tutte le parole, ma non ho capito il senso. Sì, ho capito che se avesse pensato che le foto... Cioè, quello l'ho capito.
Again, separate and apart from anything that's in,
Non ho capito dove sta andando.
What you recall happening that day and what you did, saw, and observed.
So if memory serves, it was Amber's 30th birthday. She wanted to have a dinner party at the apartments, just close friends, and I offered to cook dinner for everybody. There had been some mention that he had appointments or he had some things, and but that he would be there, and so on and so forth. I really don't recall specifically who the appointments with, what they were for, what time they were, and anything like that. Quite frankly, any talk of schedule with either Amber or Johnny was pretty much moot, to be very honest. Everybody arrived. We were sort of, I think we waited for a little bit of time, expecting him to show up. And at a certain point, I don't know who made the decision. They're just like, let's sit down, have dinner. He'll get here whenever he gets here. And we had the party in PH5.
Muffin, grazie infinite. Grazie infinite,
I want to say
Muffin.
he showed up not towards the end of the evening, but pretty close to.
Siamo punto a capo, è quello che sto capendo io. Darkness, è quello che sto capendo io. Grazie mille, Muffin.
Drinking on pills or whatever it was, but did have the appearance that he was inebriated in some way. She did not react to it.
She being
Amber, yeah, played nice. He sat down.
E grazie Coder dei
The
22.
rest of the evening was quite pleasant. He does what he always does when he comes and sits down at dinner, is put on a show and connect with everybody and be entertaining, be pleasant and polite, and her the same thing. You would have never known that there was an issue. And then I didn't hear anything until the next morning, and I knew that there was a scramble. The girls were leaving the next day for Coachella, which I did not attend with.
Quindi lui non è manco andato a Coachella.
But all I knew was that they had gotten in a pretty big argument, but because of the rush to get out that day, I didn't really get too many stories.
Lepop, grazie anche a te dei due, grazie mille.
You cooked the dinner that night?
Correct.
What'd you cook?
Oh, I don't remember that. Actually, I do remember.
What'd you cook?
I made tacos, actually. Don't ask me why I remember what I made, but I did. Amber wanted Mexican food, so I did a big Mexican spread.
When you say that when Mr. Depp walked in, he appeared inebriated, do you recall, was he swaying? Was his voice?
Esatto, Malchior. Sì, giustone.
Because I had come to know him pretty well at that point, he was pretty good at hiding it with people who didn't know him all that well. You could sort of see, if you spend enough time
Grazie,
you could
diavolo.
see the little ticks, slurring his words a little bit extra, swaying, being a little bit more discombobulated, and being a little bit more, what's the word? Like, just gregarious and loose. It's not his normal mode.
2019.
Okay, I hate to go back into what I'm going to refer to as the poop incident.
Poop incident.
But,
Il cacco.
I think you testified earlier that you observed on a number of occasions dog poop or dog pee in Mr. Depp and Ms. Hurt's apartment. Is that correct?
In perpetuity.
When you say in perpetuity, what do you mean?
It's pretty much constant. I've cleaned up my fair share in that apartment.
And I think you testified that the dogs weren't trained to only poop on the sidewalk.
They weren't trained at all. They had their run, and they'd be left at home for large portions of the day sometimes, and if there was nobody there to take care of them. And at some point, there was pee and poop on everything. Couches, sofas, chairs, the bed, you name it.
Let's go to the May 21 incident, which is covered on pages 10.
Stiamo per vedere la foto del cacco? 200 bit, grazie Muffin.
Bloccato a casa col Covid e queste long stream sono un bel passatempo anche grazie a te @kilniet. Mi pare il minimo per ringraziarti.
Grazie e congratulazioni per l'assunzione. È il momento del cacco.
And same thing that we did for April 21. I would like it, Mr. Drew, if you could just tell me the story of your role, what you saw, what you observed, what you did, chronologically in connection with this incident.
I don't remember what day of the week it was. It was either a Friday or a Saturday. I want to say it was a Saturday because I was not in the office. Raquel had her first jewelry show the next day, and the plan was for her and her friend Liz, who would come over to
Comunque questo è uno dei
specifically
teschietti
get
che avevo
set up for this.
scansionato e stampato.
Amber was around. They were going to sit in PH5 and do yoga and paint and make necklaces and things like that. And I was sort of in and out most of the day, hanging out with them. And pretty rapidly thereafter, I don't think it was more than like 10 or 15 minutes before I heard.
È un teschio dell'australopiteco,
A
bottacciaio.
couple seconds later, I heard a really, really loud slam, which I later learned was a wine bottle being smashed into our door, PH1. And then I heard keys jingling and Johnny shouting at one of his security to open this. Is it right if I swear? I mean, I'm telling you here. That's okay?
You should say the words exactly as they were said.
As I remember, he said, open this fucking door, get me in here. And he came in, caught eyes with me right away, and beeline for me, screaming, cursing, spitting in my face. I walked calmly to leave, realized that I'd forgotten my keys and the dog, so I turned around and walked back to go get both. He stayed and followed with me, walking, pacing, screaming, cursing, spitting in my face, and I left calmly. At that point, Liz was still in the apartment, and the last look I saw of her is that she bolted around the corner and went upstairs to hide from him.
Had Mr. Depp ever done this to you before?
No.
Did he? How close was he to you when he was?
Giusto un
when he
mesetto.
entered your apartment and was screaming at you.
Close enough for it to be aggressive.
Within a foot?
Yes.
And you said that you originally heard him say, open the fucking door. When he was spitting and screaming at you, what did you recall him saying?
Couldn't tell you. Honestly, it sounded like gibberish. At that point, I don't think I was really hearing anything. It was just, how can I get the hell out of here without something else happening? Because quite frankly, even though he's standing there in front of my face, he's also got, 2 bodyguards right there with him that are bigger than me. What's really going to happen here?
What were you feeling when this was going on? I'm trying to.
I mean, I don't think, honestly, I didn't feel threatened. I'll say that flat out. It seemed really, really silly. I wasn't really surprised. I just wanted to get out and make sure that the girls were okay.
Ho fatto diversi video su YouTube per come affrontare il wipe, ne farò ancora, se annunciano il wipe farò i video con i consigli.
The nature of how close he was and the way in which he was acting.
Okay, so you go get your keys. You guys have your own dog, I take it?
Yes.
You got your dog. You go out. What happens next?
I walked out into the hallway, and to be very, very candid, I don't remember in this instance whether I went to PH3 to go check on them or whether I went into PH1. The sequence of events after that as to when I actually got to Raquel and Amber or whether they came to me, I really don't remember that sequence of events offhand. I couldn't tell you.
So when you got to Raquel and Amber, what did you observe?
I remember first speaking to them specifically in PH1 in our place, but how it is we got there, I don't remember. I remember deadbolting the door, and Amber was like catatonic. She was just like 1,000-yard stare, just done. And Raquel was like trying to calm down herself, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And she started to recount a little bit, and I went right out the door and started banging on the door to do something regrettable. He was already gone at that point.
Just so I understand that you banged on the door.
PH5.
I'm going to go to Drew 1, if you don't mind. Your incredible architectural drawing, Mr. Drew. So tell me where you are, where he was, where you went.
I was in here when Johnny came in. Doors right here.
The witness should reflect, the record should reflect the witness putting to PH5.
Door was right there. This is in PH5. The living room's a little bit larger. I came out of the door to PH1, right smack in the middle. And I went back, started banging on the door at PH5, assuming he was still in there, but they were already gone.
So what sparked you to go back to try to go after Mr. Depp was hearing from Rocky that Mr. Depp had pushed her.
Correct.
As opposed to Ms. Heard.
Correct.
By the time you got over there, he had already left.
Yes.
Io ho quello, Crazy, ma se vuoi prendere altri fucili in futuro prendi l'armadio un pelo più grande. Avete capito?
You said that Amber, when you saw them, that Amber and Rocky, I think you said Amber seemed catatonic.
Yeah, she was just.
Ho un commento riguardo a tutta la sua testimonianza e alla sua persona in generale, lo faccio dopo.
From what I remember,
Lo faccio alla
sort of
fine di tutto, tanto siamo quasi vicini alla pausa.
When somebody's coming down from an adrenaline rush, she was just sort of like, she didn't really know what to do. Couldn't sit still, just sort of standing there and shaking.
So after you had gone to try to find Johnny, he'd already left. What happened next?
I went right back to the girls to make sure that they were okay after my own little selfish outburst.
And they were at that point still in your apartment?
They were still in my apartment. I came in. Amber had started to come out of it a little bit. Raquel had started to calm down a little bit. I started to get a little bit of information as to what happened. The thing I remember most distinctly was that Amber had Johnny's cell phone in her hand, so I took it from her.
And when did you first
Però
know about
heard.
the police?
Vi riassumo tutto alla fine.
I believe at that point when I came back upstairs, Amber was already on the phone with her attorney. We went back to go take pictures of all the damage, took pictures of the wine stain in the hole.
Is that the first time you saw the damage in her place, or had you already seen it in kind of the back and forth?
Again, I'm a little foggy on that. I can't say definitively whether I'd seen it before or whether that was when I saw it for the first time. So we took her back to PH3. We took photos of the damage inside. And I want to say the first responders came pretty shortly thereafter, maybe. Again, I'm really guessing here. I want to say 20 or 30 minutes at the most.
Bravo, Muffin.
The first set of police officers who were there, how long do you recall them staying?
Maybe 15 minutes. I was asked to greet the officers specifically because Amber didn't want to file a report, and I said that I would speak to them to see if I could, get them to leave and say that everything's okay, even though honestly we all knew that there was no way they could do that. I told her that I would go and greet them first.
Okay, so two questions. Why did you know that there was no way they could do that? Let me ask you that question first.
Survivor of domestic violence myself.
What was your understanding of why she didn't want to have him?
She was still protecting him.
What else, if anything, Mr. Drew, do you remember either the female Hispanic police officer or the Caucasian gentleman saying that even?
I remember I was the one who walked them through PH3 where the original incident had occurred. I showed them the broken glass. They had already walked over the wine stain in the hallway, or the big spill of wine, and I showed them the bolt in the door. You could see looked like the bottom of a wine bottle. I took them into PH5 and showed them through. Their communication to me throughout was me just pointing things out to them. The Caucasian police officer pulled me outside solo.
Finalmente uno che sa le cose però.
Internally, so I don't know whether anybody was in earshot, whether it was just Amber and the officer having a one-on-one, or whether there was anybody else around them. I don't know what was said either, specifically outside of what I might have heard secondhand, which has already been talked about ad nauseum.
You have in front of you, Mr. Drew, a series of photographs that we've marked as Drew 13. And I think I'm just going to take you through them one by one, if that's okay with you. And I'm going to ask you if you remember, if you can tell me what these photos are.
These are photos taken of her the night of the incident.
Who took the photos?
Some were taken by me, some were taken by Raquel.
And when you say the night of the incident,
May 21.
And are you sitting here today, can you distinguish which were taken by you and which were taken by?
No.
Were you present when they were all taken?
I can't say that definitively.
Okay. Were you present when photos were taken of Ms. Heard's face, like you see on the first page of this?
Yes.
And is this image of Ms. Heard's face on May 21 consistent with your recollection of what her face looked like?
Yes.
And am I correct that unlike, it's a little hard to see because there's shadow on the right, but unlike the prior incident that we looked at where there were photos, here the injury looks like it's mostly on one side?
Correct.
Let's look at the next photo. Tell me if you can remember, if you can identify what that is.
These are pictures pulled off the wall and placed onto their bed in their bedroom.
Let's go to the next photo where it's clearer. Do you recall seeing this on the night of May 21?
Yes, this is on the column in PH5 going up the stairs.
And there, the glass on the pictures were shattered?
Yes.
Starting with the first photo of Ms. Heard's face, is that what Ms. Heard's face looked like when the police arrived?
Yes.
With the next photo of the pictures on the bed and the broken picture frame on the wall, did you show these you personally show these to the first group of police officers that night?
Honestly, this one,
Hanno redatto i metadati della foto.
I did show them to the officers. I don't recall this.
And just so the record is clear, you're pointing to the photos on the bed.
Correct.
What about the photos on the wall?
The third photo, yes, I showed them personally.
For the photos on the wall, you had been in the apartment prior to this?
Yes.
Was the glass broken when you had last been in the
L'ho
apartment?
dimostrato io stesso, Ciocchi, ma a lui hanno fatto vedere solo una, non due foto.
This is broken glass. I believe this is from the landing directly beneath the photo shown in the third photo.
And it's a landing on a staircase?
Yes.
Did you show, was that photo taken by either you or Rocky?
Yes.
Did you show that glass to the police officers who came, the first group of police officers who came that night?
Yes, I did.
Next photo. I take it even I can figure that out. That's the stairway, I think?
Esatto, Giù Binsley.
And that photo was again taken by either you or Rocky?
Correct.
Was the broken glass on the stairway depicted in this photograph showed to the first group of police officers that night?
Yes, it was.
What's the next photo?
This is the hallway where there would have been spilled wine right outside the door of PH1.
And do you see spilled wine in this photo?
Yes.
Can you indicate for the record where that is?
Here and here and here.
He's pointing to the sort of middle of the photograph on the right side, on the floor, on the stripes.
And was this a photograph taken by either you or your then wife?
Yes.
And did the police officers, the first group of police officers who came, see this on that evening?
They would have walked through it before they even got to the door.
But that's not something you showed them?
No.
Last photo in the series? Can you tell me what that is, sir?
That is a wine bottle and spilled wine on the floor.
Is this a photo that...
That is a wine bottle.
Chissà cosa hanno modificato.
Is this a photo that was taken by either you or Rocky?
Yes.
Chiedeva se volevano salvare le modifiche a una delle prove.
Is this something that you showed the first group of police officers that evening?
Yes.
Which apartment?
La censura, la censura.
I believe this is in PH5.
La censura 100-100.
Which room?
Bravo.
Living room.
As I asked with the other series of photos that we saw, first of all, are you aware of anyone who made any efforts to Photoshop or otherwise manipulate these photos to make
I quadrati neri con la censura.
the incident and the circumstances look worse than they were?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have any understanding that evening that looking at the first photo of Ms.
Questo è normale perché le prove sono così, tu gli dai l'originale e la corte fa tutti i PDF.
Like she had an injury under her eye.
No.
With respect to these photographs generally that we've looked at in Drew 13, was there any effort to stage the photographs in any way?
Absolutely not.
And do you know how the photographs got ultimately to Ms. Heard?
I do not.
So I think you testified earlier with Mr. Chu.
Si è rotto le balle perché sono 3 ore in real life che lui è lì, comunque, sono 3 ore.
You were in contact in the building with Ms. Heard on the day of May 22nd.
Yes.
And I'll represent to you that the photos in Drew 14 were taken on that day. Sitting here today, do you know who took these photos?
We're talking about the two I have in front of me right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
It was either me or Raquel.
Is this consistent with your recollection of how Ms. Heard looked the next day on May 22nd?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Heard's face on May 22nd?
Yes.
Lack of foundation.
Did you or your ex-wife take photos of Ms. Heard's face on that day?
Yes, to my recollection.
And similar to questions I've asked in the past, was any effort made to stage those photos in any way?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any effort made to put makeup on Ms. Heard's face to make the injuries look redder or more serious?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Was any manipulation of the photos done?
1980 perché aveva cancellato la data su tutte, mi sembra che gli iPhone partano dal 1980.
I'm showing you a document that's been marked as Drew 18. I'm directing your attention to the photos there and asking if you can identify where these photos were taken.
The photo on the first page, honestly, I'm not sure. I don't really remember which stairwell this was from.
Faccio il riassunto prima di staccare.
Each penthouse had a stairwell?
Yes.
Okay. Next one.
Both of these photos are taken from PH5, where Amber's closet was located. Or what Amber...
Allora, il mio commento rapidissimo, poi riprendo, è semplicemente questo. Lui sta testimoniando il vero, cioè che lui ha visto queste cose, ha fotografato queste cose, ma non gli hanno chiesto qual è stata l'origine. Cioè lui non ha visto l'origine di questa roba. Potrebbe tranquillamente essere stato Amber o Rocky che hanno fatto sto casino e lui è arrivato e l'ha visto. Non ha detto so che è nato così, ha solo detto sì, era così. Per tutto.
Next page, same thing, Amber's closet.
È un armadio, sì, grande come Zara, ma è un armadio.
Next page, at least the top one.
The top one, same.
Bottom photo on that page.
Bottom photo is taken from, it looks like it's taken from the landing on the stairwell of PH5 towards the kitchen, towards the Broadway side.
And the next page just seems like similar copies. Were you ever made aware?
Come l'armadio di Bender in realtà.
Anyone destroying,
Lo faccio breve, lì il riassunto.
Not to my knowledge.
Are you aware of any efforts between and among Rocky Pennington, Io Tillett, Melanie Iglesias, Elizabeth Mars, or Amanda DeCadenet to, quote, get their story straight?
Not to my knowledge.
Have you had any outreach from any of those people that I just mentioned to you to coordinate your story or your recollection or your testimony about the things you've testified here today?
No. I did receive a phone call from IO, I want to say maybe 3 months ago. That was to catch up.
And did you discuss during that phone conversation your recollection of the events that we've been discussing?
No.
You testified that the dogs were too small to climb the stairs, is that correct? And if the dogs, in fact, were too small to climb the stairs, how would they be able to jump on the bed?
One of them was not.
So it's your testimony that one of the dogs had the ability to climb the stairs and jump on the bed, and the other had neither?
Correct.
And jump on the bed, so it's your testimony that one of the dogs had the ability to climb the stairs and jump on the bed, and the other had neither?
Correct.
Ok, finiamo e riassuntone.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that completes the testimony of that witness. So we'll go ahead and have our lunch break. Again, during your hour lunch break, do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research.
Un cane, l'altro no.
See you in an hour.
Ok, boys. Metto 2 per.
So we'll come back at 1:45 then, is that fine? Okay, live witness at 1:45, so we'll take the TV down. Okay.
1:45. Ok, quindi io adesso stacco, faccio il riassunto prima, ma stacco e ci rivediamo poi alle 19:45. D'accordo? Ad ogni modo, Riassunto di quello che abbiamo visto oggi. Abbiamo visto la testimonianza di Rocky Pennington, che era l'amica di Amber, e del suo ex marito. Rocky sembrava poco onesta, pensava molto a tutte le risposte, gli sono state suggerite diverse risposte, l'abbiamo sentito chiaramente, e non è stata esaminata direttamente dall'avvocato di Depp, ma tramite videoconferenza dall'avvocato di Depp, e ha detto che Amber era devastata, addirittura piangeva durante la testimonianza. Poi adesso abbiamo visto l'ex marito. L'ex marito mi è sembrato decisamente il più onesto fino adesso, il più dritto di tutti i testimoni di Amber. Rispondeva alle domande subito, con precisione, con chiarezza, con un ottimo lessico. Mi pare che sia convinto che sia successo del marcio, non sarebbe stato lì se non fosse stato altrimenti, ma non ha mai detto di aver visto come sono state causate quelle cose, e un pensiero che ho io è questo. Sì, continuiamo alle 19:45. Ok, una parte di me pensa, ovviamente, e se ci fosse nel vero, nelle accuse, sono state magari ingigantite, ma c'è del vero? Ma l'altra cosa che penso è, e se avessero intortato anche lui? Le due tipe? Se avessero intortato anche lui? Perché mi è sembrato uno molto, molto dritto, molto onesto, è stato onesto anche nel dire le cose scomode, è stato veloce, pronto e corretto lessicamente. Ha anche detto roba tipo, sì, Elon Musk è andato a trombarsela mentre Johnny e loro erano ancora sposati. Girati che voglio vedere il disegno sulle spalle come sta. Visto? Deve dire solo quello che ha visto, non importa se è stato intortato o cosa pensa. Esattamente. Io penso che ci sia una possibilità che sia stato intortato, e comunque è stato sicuramente un testimone onesto. Signori, vado a riposarmi 45 minuti, ci rivediamo alle 19:45, riprendiamo questa cosa, e poi verso le 11, quando finirà, ce ne andiamo a giocare a Tarkov. Grazie dell'attenzione, see you later.